It wasn't until after I did my performance there that, again, this was 3 years later. 3 years later. And of course, Lund knows the stuff that I do, but he doesn't know of anything else besides whatever he's working on. So he's there, and he's like, Rob, what the heck, man? Been working in radio for 10 years, and why don't you have a radio show about VRChat? He's like, we could get this going. We could tell VRChat this.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion, and unfortunately Raptor's in bed sick again, but we are here joined by our wonderfully esteemed guest. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Rob. My last name is Roman. This is my voice. I'm RobRomansVoice.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's an actual pleasure to meet you in person, to be honest. The only time I've ever heard you is at drinking night when I first joined years and years ago.
Yeah, it always tends to surprise a lot of people, especially this year in 2024. Especially because drinking that mix and drinking night is going to be celebrating 5 years in November.
Oh, wow.
Well, coming up in a couple months. Yeah. So it's kind of funny how people have started to kind of associate me with that. The long story of it basically was like, especially this year, people were kind of being like, oh, it was just a commission from a guy on the internet. Just some random guy, had nothing to do with VRChat or something. And all of a sudden, people are learning that I've been in VRChat since 2018. And they're kind of flipping their wig a little bit, just the fact that, like, they're like, are you real? Like, really? This guy made it? It's not just some random dude? And he DJs? That's crazy. So, that's kind of how all of that kind of, stumbles across itself, especially when I come in here. And, I used to be in this game a lot. I used to be one of those type of content creators, yeah, back in 2019, 2020. But, things have happened in the game that made it a little bit uneasy to stream it. But besides that, coming back and doing a lot of DJing within the past couple of years, it's been really fun in 2024 alone to get a bunch of people, recognizing me and the things that I've done, and especially through Drinking Night. Obviously, Vrchat has the owner of Drinking Night. She's always going through constant battles of people either saying that mix is iconic, or that mix gives them PTSD, or they need to change it up or get another commission done or put a video player in there. And so obviously thanks to Vrchat for continuing the legacy that is that legendary mix, I guess.
Well, then let's start with the beginnings as well. Our typical question, what are you most known for here in VR? What have you been up to? And what got you started with everything? What got you in the platform?
Well, as you touched upon, I am known for the meme of Drinking Night, where people will be like, you're in the mix with RobRomansVoice, which I'm going to go ahead and debunk it. I know it's early in this interview, but I'm going to debunk the myth. I made the mix, sure. But the voice is not mine. That is not me. The voice was done by a man named Man Cave Hawkeye, which you could find on Twitch. He's a radio guy like me. And, one day we were streaming together and I asked him to do some liners and he said, sure. And wouldn't you believe it? An older man doing the voice that doesn't play VRChat gets famous on a platform that he's not a part of. So, that's a very fun thing. Obviously, a lot of people know me from Drinking Night again, but I have done a lot of other mixes in this game too, and that's the other fun part that people are trying to find out about me, is the fact that Vrchat made a second world called Trap Haven, and so I was able to get a commission mix in there. Club Vox back in the day had a commission. Recently, the Tavern, there's a kind of a big drinking community. They requested a mix in there. Funny enough, they haven't asked me to DJ for the club yet, but I would say one of these days, if they're gonna celebrate like 5 years or something, maybe. But yeah, you'll find a lot of different clubs and find a lot of instances with my mixes in them. As far as like the legacy, I guess. Again, I started in June of 2018, so I've been in here for a hot minute. But most of that time was kind of dedicated to streaming. I kind of came in here and I fell in love with the Uganda Knuckles meme. That was a really big thing. Outside of whatever else I was doing in my real life, which I'm sure we'll get to. But coming in here and being fascinated over the fact that a lot of people were role playing, and at the time there were a lot of streamers in 2018 not only role playing, but they were role playing on stream. So they were kind of making sorry, I'm just gonna go orange here. They were making a lot of content on Twitch that was very believable at the time, because their RP was mostly characteristic based on their personalities, and it was charming, it was whimsical, it was storytelling at its best, I think. And it kind of caught my attention because most of my, I would work a 9-to-5 job, come home, make dinner, and I'd be spending all of my night watching this character on Twitch, kind of being in virtual space, playing this thing. And I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. So just getting into the game and exploring, and obviously one of the downfalls that I could touch upon a little bit later is, towards 2018, 2019, 2020, you run into select characters in this game that kind of shake up the bag a little. And, some of them don't have the most proper intentions. And, just like any struggle in any game, you have to kind of face it and understand it and try to figure out even friendships, not all friendships are meant to be, and you have to burn a couple bridges, but you cry about those bridges too, because you just want it to work. So being in the game since 2018, it's been so fascinating. It's not even interesting, it's fascinating to see how things have changed in VRChat. With the very limitations that we had back in 2018, 2019, compared to how we kind of got everything we've ever dreamed of later on. It's been very interesting to see how this simulation has changed over the years. But I think it's also great to see that the people from 2018, 2019 are still kind of kicking. There are still a bunch of people that are in here and celebrating the newer culture and the new opportunities and newer things to do in here, while also celebrating old stuff too. But even more so, the new people don't know of the old stuff, so reintroducing them to the old stuff is very fun.
So I have a bit of a question, since you said you started in the platform as a streamer. What kinds of things did you do in the platform over time, and how did you go from streaming to DJing music, and, as you alluded to, real life stuff as well?
Oh, that's the $1 million question right there, my guy. That's where we're gonna open up this interview wide open for you. But so before the VR chat, I had been working in radio since 2012, and I ended up getting a certificate of completion from CSB School of Broadcasting in Connecticut back in 2009, and I've been working for iHeartRadio and ESPN since 2012.
Oh wow!
And up and down the dial on the East Coast, from Vermont down to Tampa, Florida, to Connecticut, and just working all these radio stations and doing lots of opportunity things. And that's kind of where the voice lies. The voice in Rob Roman's voice is the fact that I've been working in radio ever since. So the DJing kind of fell into that. Obviously, when you're working in radio, you're just kind of the voice on the radio throughout the state, throughout the whatever. And while that being an on-air personality, that's kind of what it's called, rather than a DJ. It's an on-air personality. While that's great and all, the DJs for those radio stations were just the DJs, and like their job was to go to the club events and perform. And while they have ties with the radio station, doesn't necessarily mean they work for the radio station. They would just be kind of like on call, being like, hey, the radio station's going to this club, you need DJ. Or they'll kind of do a triangular thing with the club and say, hey, you should hire this guy. If you're gonna hire us, you're gonna hire this guy. And then some of them work for the radio stations. So that's cool. So me understanding DJing was just very pinnacle in my career, because just as any career goes, you start with your primary, and then you have a secondary on deck just in case something happens with the primary. I colloquially call it being Batman. You know, like you're Bruce Wayne in the daytime, and then you're Batman at night. You're still making enough money for everything. So that's kind of what I was doing. Most of my time in radio was, besides being an on-air personality and working behind the scenes, making commercials and production, is I would travel with the promotions team to clubs. We would go, I'd hang out behind the decks, hang out with the DJ because that's where the most room was. A lot of people were out there getting drunk and partying and whatever. But my job was to promote their partying and give them beads and take pictures and sign up for raffles and stuff. And obviously that was a really, really nice time for me because then I could hobnob with the DJs and see what they're up to, what they're working on, and what kind of like hardware they have, software, and kind of doing all of that. And I don't know, just like any other guy, like I game, I play game, I do the thing, you know. So I heard a little bit about Twitch back in 2017. And luckily for me, I moved to Vermont that time to pursue full-time radio. And I don't know if you know anything about Vermont, but Vermont is kind of a secluded state. You legit go there, and I make the joke of like, once you're in Vermont, you stay there. But honestly, though, like once you move there, being a guy from Connecticut, it would take 3.5 hours to drive. It would take 10 hours by train if you went from Vermont to Connecticut. It would take 6 hours by bus because Vermont has to go to Boston and then to Connecticut. And then it would take 4 hours by plane because the plane has to go from Vermont to New Jersey to Connecticut. And I found that very fascinating because you would think that it would be so close by, that it would be so easy to commute. But apparently the only routes are the ones that you have to kind of connect to other things to. So you kind of had to stomach 3.5 hours if you had to go back home to Connecticut. So once you move to Vermont, you pretty much just stay in Vermont and you enjoy yourself. But again, there's nothing going on there besides trees and local life. So the entertainment scene is very, very minimal. Especially being in Burlington, Vermont. Burlington has one nightclub, and the nightclub only can probably host 35 people per room, and they have 2 rooms. So when you're trying to accommodate 3 area colleges full of kids in one big old club, it's just like you're just going to go to the bar, or you're just going to drink in your dorm, or you're going to drink at a house or something. So 2017 came around, kind of exploring the internet. I'll go ahead and say it just as everybody else was. I think 2017, 2018 was a very pinnacle time for Game Grumps culture in YouTube. So we were watching a lot of Dan Avedon joining Aaron on Game Grumps and trying to just kind of, enjoying that culture. But then when I did hear about Twitch and I heard about the Uganda Knuckles on YouTube, I was just, again, so blown away that video games have gone so far. I purchased a PS4 back in 2017, and at the time, all I had was my Xbox 360, and just kind of grinding on the Xbox 360 because that's how my family life went, where you just have one console for a very long time. And since the PS4, understanding that you could play games on the internet, you could download games on the internet, and then you could also stream those games on Twitch through the internet on the PS4, blew my mind. Again, just another avenue to be like, well, I'm watching these people on Twitch and I'm enjoying myself. Why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing this? So I started to invest. I started to invest in a beefier computer. I had a Mac. I had a Mac laptop for a little while. Learned there's not enough cores in that. And then getting fascinated about VRChat was just such a surreal experience. And getting the fundraising for that, and not only that, but understanding, I don't know, gaming PCs for nerds. You have to be a nerd. That's it. That was the rule. That once you turn nerd, you're just nerd. And it wasn't a frightening change. It wasn't like that. It was more of just like I don't know, kind of understanding your car. Like, you could bring your car in to get an oil change, and pay the money and pay the guy and let them do it, and that's it. Get it done professionally and whatever. But I would have never in my days thought that I would be capable to not only buy parts, expensive parts, and make this ginormous mech of a machine that could generate so much power and energy just to play video games with. That was something you'd go to the arcade for. You'd play in the arcade cabinets. You'd play the racing game with the wheel and the whole shebang. So when I started to learning about virtual reality, and it was so surreal, and I'm gonna spare some of the magical, sexy words that I think a lot of us kind of go through when first coming in here. But I think everyone that gets into VR chat falls in love, and they fall in love for a short period of time, to the point where they have to break and say, is this something that I'm okay with? And not just it's not like an addiction thing, but it's just kind of there's a moment in time when you're in this game for the first couple of months that you start to question your actual reality. And we do know a bunch of groups of people that will come in here, and this will be their reality compared to their actual reality. It's frightening. It's cause of concern, but at the same time, all you can do is just hope, have great hope for your friends, to try to figure it out. And while the regular reality sucks and you're in the virtual reality, there's bound to be a time where you go back to regular reality and try to figure it out, but you still have friendships in here. So understanding all of that, I mean, again, it was great. You live in Vermont and you don't talk to anybody. Perfect. You go in virtual reality, you talk to all the people across the world. That's just kind of it. I think somewhere down the interview, I'm gonna keep it secret until you ask the mighty questions, because that's how this interview is gonna roll. I think I figured out what's wrong with VRchat currently, and it might blow your mind. We'll get to the answer if you ask the question, but there are a lot of moments to think about with VRchat right now currently compared to the previous times that sometimes you think, what currently in VRchat, what's wrong with it that people hate about it so much? And the answer lies with the nostalgia back in the day. And again, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to keep it secret. I'm going to keep it secret until you ask the question. But, there are a lot of people that are in this simulation now, post 2022, because that's the magical number 2, that don't want to think about what had happened before 2022. Anything that happened before 2022 never existed, because everything past 2022 is just a brand new era. There's no need to go back in time. There's no need to go back to when people were scared of memes and things that they couldn't handle, because now we kind of have the technology to deal with that. I think one of the things is just being able to block and report somebody. That was something that the technology was kind of there back in the day, but it wasn't enough to it requires you to get off your VR, go on the website and fill out a report. And you're no one has time for that. Come on. Just kind of get over it and deal with it in your own way. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Getting into VR chat, yeah, that's just kind of it. The Uganda Knuckles meme was a big hit with me. I really love Team 5. I love Whoops and Papa Vince and Drekwiz, and even the romantic stylings of Chips and Nuts. And that just I watched so many hours on YouTube of just their relationship and their faux relationship and their RP, and it was so whimsical and new and interesting, and we all wanted a conclusion, but the conclusion wasn't what we wanted. And I miss that type of content. I miss that type of RP is around, but I believe, again, my opinion, I believe RP goes much farther than it wants to. You know, after 40, 50, 60 episodes in one season, I'm like, y'all need to kind of get back on track and figure out what you're doing in the second season. Plus, you got to tease us into the next season. I feel like that's so many episodes in one season. So, but again, my opinion, you know, whatever. And you know, as a streamer and getting to know streaming, one of the things that I absolutely love about VRChat is just how new everything can be. And even now, you know, VRChat surprises me so much because it's a simulation of just regular content creators, just regular creators, world creators, avatar creators, story creators, people that make storylines with their games, people that make worlds where you have to work with each other to solve puzzles, or even in this case, I really love worlds that have things that you can look at. This world's fantastic too, because it could be something as simple as the falling rain, or the fact that you have this like kind of a cul-de-sac of like a dead end where a bunch of shops are, but it makes you go around and look at all the small details. It's not even a matter that there's a mirror in it, you know, like you're in here and you're kind of immersed a bit. You know, I found it interesting because I started dabbling in avatar creation and world creation too, as everyone else did. And I made a meme art showcase world where you had to find the mirror. You know, the mirror wasn't where you wanted it to be, but the rest of the whole world was just you exploring and looking at all the funny meme pictures that got altered from the community. And that is priceless to me, because in an age where everyone sits in front of a mirror, and in an age where you know, we're so fascinated with ourselves and the things that we enjoy, it's nice to kind of break that immersion, especially in real life. You know, it's nice to sit in front of a computer and play a video game, but have you ever touched grass? I know people joke about it, but it exists, and touching grass is great, you know.
Yeah.
Eating an apple's great. Drinking water is great. People are going to be hating me in the comments for saying that, but like at the same time, do yourself a justice and eat a damn apple and drink your damn water, and, you know, go touch the damn grass. So, the changing of VR chat was also very interesting, and I will say that what I've learned in radio, well, the many things I learned in radio is bad news is still news. Bad news will still be talked about, and the reason why people bring up bad news is because people will talk about it. Regardless if they think that you're a villain, they will still talk about you as a villain, but you're still being talked about. So, when it comes to the different seasons and the different years of VR chat, of course we'll have bad news, and of course we'll talk about the bad news. Hopefully people learn from the bad news, but one of the things that makes content so juicy is that people will continuously talk about bad news, regardless if they like it or not. And you know what? That's news, and people will hear about it. So that's, as far as the content side of like playing VR chat, there's a lot of other things that you could do for content in here, but man, oh man, when the bad news and the tea spills and you start feeding into it, that's still content. You know, you're still talking about it. So that's a funny thing to say out loud. You know, you would normally think, oh, you have to be popular. Oh, you have to do a specific thing. You got to wiggle your hips or something. No, you can still be a bad guy and talk about stuff and still be making content.
Okay.
Now, on the other side of it, I know, a lot to talk about.
Oh, it's okay. Talk away.
Yeah. Now, the other side of it with the DJing, because obviously content creation's a whole nother animal. But the DJing actually, again, started when I was working in the radio. Like I was saying, I was behind the scenes, working with the DJs, kind of get to know what they were doing. But for all the DJ people out there that are watching, you know, CDJs were far and few in between. And the you know, people were still doing vinyl. And people, I'm not saying that I'm that old, but CDJs, there were a couple of CDJs that were still in works, but they weren't as fantastic as they are today. So, getting to know the DJs and how they were creating and the software that they were using, it was interesting for me because that's big money. Obviously CDJs, if you don't know and the people at home don't know, one unit, one turntable costs roughly $2,500. And so if you have the entire setup, you're looking at 9 to 10 grand, fresh out the box. And then you got to learn it. Whoa. So the fact that smaller consoles and smaller DJ equipment existed helped me kind of understand the buttons a little bit, the levers, the pulleys, the whatever. And again, since I've just been infatuated with music my entire life, and going to college for music as well, having these tools really helped me out try to understand what was going on. And while I didn't do clubs, there were a couple of examples in my career that I think before I moved to Vermont, the night of me moving to Vermont, a friend of mine who was running a bar, their DJ split. Now I'm all packed up to move, like everything's in boxes. So they put a call out on Facebook saying, hey, is there any DJs that could perform tonight? And honestly, no one responded. Everyone was busy. So I was just like, all right, give me. And I was at work. I was at iHeartRadio when I read that message. And I was like, all right, give me like 35 minutes. I'll make some calls, see if my dad goes, so my parents. And I was like, let me get my dad to dig out all of my DJ equipment, and then I'll just rush over there and just do the thing. And it was sloppy, man. It was real sloppy. I had my console, I had my laptop, and because my console didn't have the proper audio wiring that I needed, I brought an external 4-channel mixer to like off to the side for them to plug into. So it was just a plug-in of all these wires. But man, we killed that club, man. We killed that bar. Got paid. It was like 2 a.m. I had to be on the road at 6 a.m. We did the thing. It was awesome. And then there were a couple of other instances where we did like promotional club events through the radio station, but it was more for the community. So while the name was attached to it, it was mostly community stuff. Translating that into VRchat, in my opinion, was scary because there weren't too many club venues in here. I think the only ones that I knew of at the time when I started to really ramp up the process was it was the Vault, and it was I think it was Volt, VOLT. There was another club in here that like they made up the club, but they only had like a video playing. They didn't have a video player at the time. And I might be mistaken of the name because I obviously I remember the club, but for the life of me, because I go to all these other clubs now, it's just like it's kind of lost in time until I look it up and go, oh yeah, it's that one. But I just remember going there and I was like, man, this is really neat how people could set up a club environment. But again, back in 2018, 2019, nobody was actively role-playing going to the club. People were still just drinking in VR, and that was just it. They would go to, what the heck is it called? Presentation room. They would just go to the presentation room. They would just sit in the presentation room and they would just chat with each other, and there was no jumping and no mirrors, and people were drawing and they were just getting sloppy. And like, good for them. Like, cool. That's the way that you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to go and talk with everybody and enjoy yourself. But for these club instances, there was no real opportunity for a DJ to DJ. And the only way that DJs could DJ back in the day was out of their mouths. Because that's what we do, is just reroute our microphone audio in game to go to like an audio interface or any other type of dealio that we had going on. So for me, I would be streaming DJing stuff on Twitch, just low key. I didn't have a lot of following. And then when I got in game, I think the first real iteration of me DJing in VR was out of my mouth on a New Year's night. And it was special because we were all together. There was no real like music in the world. for New Year's. So I was just there running around DJing out of my mouth. The setup was really wonky. The setup was stupid. I had a console on top of a music stand in front of me. I had wires plugged into my HTC Vive into my brain. And then at the time I had the cameras showing out of my face, looking down while I was streaming, and then the VR chat thing going on too. And it was just so, it was so cyber, it was just like, I was like, I'm in, I'm doing the thing. And then ever since then, honestly, like that's just what it's just been growing ever since then. It's just been getting better. The DJ scenes have been getting large. The community has literally exploded into just a chaotic hobbyist environment. Lots of exposures happening now. People who have a purpose in the game now, and it is shocking to me about how aggressive it has become. But I think competition makes the better of people. When it comes to DJing in this game, there's a lot of competition that happens. It's friendly competition. We're all friends. Regardless if, there's some bad blood here and there, but, I have never met a community with worry-free drama in my life than the DJs of VRchat. They've been absolutely fantastic, and they've been fantastic to get to know. So, Cliff Notes. Started back in 2018. Started streaming it just because all of it was brand new and fascinating and squeaky clean, and it was so fun for me to experience. And the DJing in VR didn't necessarily start until 2019. I would even assume like New Year's of 2019, so 2018 going into 2019 was kind of the first time I ever dabbled into it. And I wouldn't say that the content creation is not there anymore. I still stream VR chat occasionally. But again, I won't say the magic secret thing until it happens. Maybe at the end of this interview, I'll share with you my thoughts on what VR chat needs to do to fix itself.
Well, in terms of like the magic conversation, I think I want to make the audience wait a little longer to more towards the end, just to be a bit mean and evil, have them wait for the thing they really want, so you have to watch the rest of it. And I won't tell you exactly where in this conversation will be, so you'd actually have to listen to it.
It's funny. There was one time I was working at an arena show, and the event that was happening was about dinosaurs. And so you had a bunch of kids and you had a bunch of adults, and the adults, they were like life-size replicas of dinosaurs being puppeteered in this arena show. And the announcer, or the barker, or the host, or whoever you want to call him, he was like, throughout the entire show, he was like, they're like, believe it or not, we live with dinosaurs today, and I'm going to explain to you why and how and what they are, but you're going to have to wait till the end of the show. And so everyone's like, oh my gosh, they're so giddy about trying to figure out. They're like, really, dinosaurs? So spoiler alert, at the end of the show, he explained that, believe it or not, the birds are dinosaurs because they have evolved from the original dinosaurs. They're the only living species here. Birds, just regular birds, either small pigeons and stuff, all the way to like, I'm trying to remember. Chickens. Chickens would have been a much larger species or something. But chickens are also descendants of the dinosaurs. I would also assume alligators as well. But they were saying the closest relative are birds. And the way he said it was like, he was like, he did an animation. He was like a swoop of a hand. He's like, it's in the birds. And then like there were like these little animatronics going around, and there was this whimsical, stupid Harry Potter music, and all the kids were all like, they're like, whoa, the birds, So that blew my mind a little bit because if you really think about it, between alligators and some of the other dragon species for that matter, I don't know. Are we blessed to be living with dinosaurs? You betcha. Like that's so cool. But I think what I recently figured out about VRchat really nails the head into the coffin. Hits the head on the nail of the coffin. The nail of the coffin. Put the nail in the coffin. We'll go with that one. It kind of sparks. I think it would spark a little bit of controversy after hearing about it.
So I want to ask the first question. This question is for Apper, because I know if he was here, he would be giddy to ask a question or something similar. The club, the vault, with a button you go into, and you go into the club that's inside the cliff face. What was it like playing there at the time? Because that's Rapper's personal favorite world of all time, and he would dare to say the person who made it was way ahead of his time. What was it like playing there when it was active?
So, we didn't really host a lot of events, or I didn't host a lot of events. We have had a program running with no club, no affiliation, just straight up DJing. It's called Saturday Night in the Mix. Been doing it ever since, either in VR or out of VR on Twitch. And it's literally just 3 hours of me performing. And I think one of the beauties of it, and I'll get back to your question, is the fact that we have no affiliation with any of the clubs. It's just us. I guess if you want, the club, the Two Tone Army Club that I've put together, that's the club. But we don't do anything outside of that. It's just like a group that you could join that that you're in to get into Saturday Night in the Mix. And it's just 3 hours of DJing and just having a good time. And you don't have to be too full of yourself. You could let go. You could wear meme avatars if you want. You could drink. You don't have to drink. You just kind of hobnob, mingle, and just hang out, listen to the throwback music. So Saturday Night in the Mix in VRchat, it was weird to try to find a home. I think at the time I was with one of my moderators, and he was a world creator. He actually helped out with he was a part of, he's still a part of the dysfunctional family with Drinking Night, but he helped create Drinking Night. So he wanted us to have our own world, so he was working on it at the time. And so we went to the vault, because the vault was just such a miraculous thing. It was like it was an innovation of like shaders and new games and a new lease on clubbing. And I love to talk about how there are a ton of people in VRchat that think they know about clubbing just because of all the experiences that they have in here. But some of the experiences can be way too lavish compared to some of the other clubs that you may go to. The other thing being body odor and the price of drinks and cover charge and how much money you actually have to go in there to buy a bottle of booze. All of that combined, they may know how to party, they may know how to go to a club, but then when they go to an actual club full of strangers, introvert, that they become an introvert, and that's it. So with Voltage, at the time, or a Vault, not Voltage, the Vault, at the time was just this innovative thing. The shaders looked awesome. The fact that you had to go into a cave to scan your hand to get in, and then on top of that, all of the freaking DMX lights and stuff that were going on, and all of the little buttons and switches that you could do, fire effects, smog effects, some of the coolest hot tubs were in there at the time. Let alone, I fell in love with their mirror system. You click on a button and the mirror goes swoop, and then like it just spawns like magically, and you're like, nothing like that has ever happened in VRchat. This is some like cybernetic stuff that you would see in the future. So I love that. That was fantastic for me. Of course, I was still operating off of a 1060 at the time, so it's just it's still kind of an old system, an old GPU trying to work its way through it, all of the fancy things. But like performing Saturday Night in the Mix there was so fun, because at the time there really weren't a lot of people that would go out clubbing on a Saturday night. Again, the more popular thing to do was to just hang out in presentation rooms or Gaia nights or even the Pug. I guess people were going to the Pug, and they would just drink there. They would RP drink there, and they would RP with each other. It's like Super Mario's you hang out with Shrek, and they're just kind of BSing and whatever. So that was the popular thing. The clubs weren't really popular. I mean, they were still popping off. There were some groups that were still new to that and that whole concept, but we never heard of them because they were off doing their own thing. The downside of performing at the Vault was being able to adapt the screens through a video player. They had a video player, but putting in a hyperlink or an address wasn't readily available at the time. So I was still playing music out of my mouth, and I was just performing for maybe 5 or 8 of my friends while still streaming it online. So if you wanted the full experience, you'd be listening it on the Twitch. But if you wanted to join people in the world, it's just as fun because there's things to do. You know, you could lay back in the hot tub thinking that you're the coolest thing ever, and or you can play darts. Probably one of the first worlds I've ever been to. You can play darts, and the accuracy of the darts, whew, man, so cool. So for my experience back in that day, again, clubs weren't the thing to go to. They just weren't. Just because I think a lot of people were so still caught up on memes and crashing meme content creators on Twitch and being a part of that community, because that's where all the fame was. All the fame was hanging out with the content creators, the people that were running around screaming, being a part of meme culture, because it was all still brand new, but it was also very competitive. You know, people were still trying to make the latest, greatest, coolest meme, or when there was a meme, who was going to be the first to create the avatar for that meme, or be the showcase, or be the face of it. So while we were just kind of putzing around doing whatever, I think the Vault was a really pinnacle map of its time. You could still go to it, still in VRChat, still a little broken because I don't know if it got switched over to Udon or not. So it might still be running off of SDK2. But it's still very fun to go to. It's fun to go to experience it, to explore, and make your own comprehension of or comparison of some of the newer clubs that you may go to and experience that sort of stuff.
Okay. So I'm gonna dig it. I would like to ask some questions further back in your content creation. Then we'll start going forward into clubbing, DJing, and what you do with that. You said when you first found VRChat, you watched like role play streamers and stuff. What kinds of things did you stream when you got into it? Did you ever join the same role plays you would watch?
You wanna hit up the arcade after this?
We've kind of played every arcade game like a million times.
Yeah.
What about the record store?
They didn't get anything new in this week.
Seems like there's like nothing to do.
Hey kids, heard you all need a little bit of fun in your lives.
What the hell are you?
Oh, I'm Letty, and I'm here to show you two improv.
Improv? Isn't that for nerds?
Listen, you and you are both here in VRChat. That makes you and you nerds. So, allow me to take you all to Skits and Bits Improv.
Oh
What
god!
the hell just happened?
Welcome to Skits and Bits Improv, a fun, welcoming, and creative community, all surrounded about the basis of improv.
Hey Robert, I've heard you're bored of the soup.
Yes, and actually, oh my god, this is so much soup! Jesus Christ! I'm not ever gonna get used to that.
I'm gonna be sick.
And we host improv workshops available to all skill levels every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So come join us.
Lottie, you can't be just teleporting and ruining the scene like that.
Oh, don't worry, I got that covered. Allow me. No.
What the hell was that?
This is where we host our shows every last Saturday of each month, 6 p.m. Eastern. Check out how we perform.
You have to stop doing that!
Change!
You have to keep doing that?
And we produce our own short films, sketches, and skits.
Wait, what the hell's a skit?
All right. We're in a skit right now. That's right. So, come and join us, everyone. But do note that this group is meant for ages 18 years or older. So y'all little kids, get out of here, go, bye, sayonara, go, bye. So, what do you think about joining us for improv?
You know, the existential dread of teleportation isn't really all that horrible.
Join us for improv today.
Let's get them big.
So okay. Being a DJ, no one needs to know that you're a DJ. No one needs to know that you perform. No one needs to know, and at the time, no one needs to know what you do as a career. One of the best things for you in this game is to not really give away too much about yourself. Obviously, I kind of screwed that pooch a long time ago. But being in entertainment, it's just as hard, because when you perform and you have some sort of a trade or something that somebody enjoys, they're either going to be with you or they're going to try to get something out of you. And in my career, again, we don't talk about it too much just because I try to be as humble as possible. I have the evidence that proves, the things that I do is awesome. But, when you eat M&Ms every day for like the whole year, you kind of get sick of M&Ms for a while.
Yeah.
While people are like, what do you mean you're sick of M&Ms? They're delicious. So when it came to radio, I was meeting superstars almost every other day. And by superstars, I mean, I could be in there working my regular job, making commercials or being on air or something. And then someone rolls up and goes, or one of my bosses rolls up and goes, hey, just to let you know, the Jonas Brothers are going to be here at 2:00. Nobody in the office can go out to get catering. We're going to give you the company card, and I want you to buy $1,000 of Panera. Sandwiches, soups, whatever you can get your hands on. Things that you think that the Jonas Brothers might like. And I'm like, all right, bet. And then they're like, go buy something for yourself too. And I'm like, cool, great. So when you get graced with those opportunities, half of it is just like, oh, that's cool, I get to meet the Jonas Brothers. But at the same time, you're thinking, oh man, free lunch, that's cool. I get down with that too. But that's the thing though, is that in radio, all of that happens, and it's meant to happen. Just like any business has to spend money to make sure that their books are even, that they pump it into their business. For us, it was a little bit more stupid grandioso. For example, one of our performance spaces was sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts. And so every so often we would get free donuts, maybe, every 3 or 4 days. Donuts and coffee. It's always there. They've gotten to the point where Connecticut Dunkin' Donuts and iHeartRadio in Connecticut are on really good terms, that they literally built a mock Dunkin' Donuts into their performance lounge. So whenever it is time to perform, actual Dunkin' Donuts employees come in, stock the thing, and pretend like they're working at a Dunkin' Donuts, but it's at the radio station. So I find that very funny, because I'm just like, oh, I'm eating lunch in the Dunkin' Donuts that's also attached to the thing. So that's always very fun to say. But at the same time, again, when you say stuff like that, that just kind of sets the bar higher and higher and higher based off of how popular you are, your career choices, and the fun things you do. Meeting Jonas Brothers was great, but at the same time, if you were to say that to a regular person, they may scream like, "Oh my God, Jonas Brothers! I wish I was there. You're so lucky." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I could have brought you in. You could have been cool about it, but you're not. So so kind of understanding the things that I've done in radio and the things that I had access to, and all of the fun laundry list of celebrities. By laundry list, I'll give you an example. Obviously, Jonas Brothers, sure. I have met Carly Rae Jepsen at the height of her career. Dea was one. The first person I ever met was Adam Lambert. This was pre-Queen. This was before he joined Queen. So again, some really, really big artists. Yeah, I got to meet Jason Derulo. And even not only that, but like I had an opportunity to meet the Macy's Day Parade Santa Claus that you usually see in New York. And I also got to meet the 7th distiller of Jack Daniel's, number 7.
Oh wow!
Was just such a great experience to be able to talk to someone like that. He signed a bottle, and he was a real cool guy to just sit down and talk to. Everybody there is really cool, but at the same time, I met Floater. There's a great story behind that too. But so coming into VR chat, that's the thing, is that in here, I think one of the safe things to do is to build your own whatevers in game. And not too many people need to know about your background history or where you live or what you do. And you can come in here and act a character and just be presented as that character. So for me, it wasn't a matter of like me running around saying that I worked in radio or I was working in radio at the time. Because nobody really cares about that at the end of the day. They just, at the time, they care about the experiences, the friendships, and the things, the internet, really, the people, the stars of the internet. So coming in here, my first couple of experiences, obviously, just like anybody else does, you have to climb the ladder. You have to kind of go to Publix and kind of weed out the people that you may, I'll get back to that concept in a little bit because it has changed dramatically. But one of the other the known unknowns of VR chat was you had to have come in here for a reason, and one of those reasons was the people that streamed the game and the people that were making the content on YouTube. It wasn't a matter of watching Twitch for Twitch. You knew about Twitch because of a video you saw on YouTube. And that may still hold true today. People will be watching somebody will be watching this and be like, wait a minute, the guy from Drinking Night exists? And then be like, so everybody's gonna be like knocking on my door just trying to figure out who I am and who they want to talk to me, which again, I'm open. My DMs are open. So coming in here, it was a matter of trying to find those people. And in your mind, you're just thinking, they must be in a public instance. They must be somewhere accessible to some people because they're hanging out with other people. How did they get in with those people? I don't know. So I spent a good ladder of my time not really trying to like snipe them in VR chat, but I quickly learned that you kind of need to be a part of their community for them to know you better, as opposed to you running in there and being like, "Can you please sign my book? Can you please take a picture?" Like, "Oh, I saw you on the thing, so we're automatically friends." And I'm like, "No, that's not it." And probably for a good 2 years, that's kind of how things worked. Was you had these people making content, they were making some larger bucks, they were performing and posting videos on YouTube, making more bucks. But the story goes, if you have a lot of experience in a particular thing and you do a very awesome thing, people are either going to want to be with you or they're going to be in it for the wrong reasons, for clout, trying to get money, trying to get a power move, know you from someone else, or know someone else from you. And that sucks, man. That's so shady and gross. And while it may work for the person who's trying to make that power move, the other person's just like, well, okay, it's just another person I can't trust anymore. And that's one of the things that was so disgusting at the time, was the fact that you had a lot of content creators on here, and they're just like, I mean, they're hanging out and they're collaborating, but there's just so many people that would rather waste their time with a power grab. That people were trying to be in there and try to hold power. There were several content creators that believed that because they were so famous, they had power and influence in the game. Even to the point of like, wow, I'm friends with a certain developer, so I'm never going to get banned here. Or I'm friends with so-and-so, and they know so-and-so. So who? Why does that matter? Why does that care? You know, why? So you have something on your resume? So you have something that you can go off of? The reality of it is you kind of have to do you. You know, you have to create your own power movement, and it's tough. It's tough when you don't know how to do that. Either a leader or you're a follower, and if you're a follower trying to become a leader, that's a tough road. You know, it's a very rocky road for you to try. So it's just easier for you to learn it from the professional. You know, learn from someone who can do it. However, not necessarily that's the case. So earlier on, when it came to this type of content, oh my body, it was just kind of that. It was people. I mean, I will say that if you're a content creator, it's always nice to have people around. But some people try way too hard. And it's perfectly okay to be a part of someone's something and not constantly be in their face. It's not show and tell, even though VRChat is mostly show and tell. It's not extreme show and tell where you're just like, hey, look at the thing I made. Look at this thing. Look at that thing. You know, just let it be natural and enjoy yourself and enjoy the things that you do. Now, all of that kind of shifted, I'll say. And I honestly, I cannot even give you the right timeline for that. But I think it had something to do with the way that the VRChat timeline, in my eyes, had shifted was you had people with power, 2018, 2019. 2019 to 2020 was more memes. And we had some really big meme artists. I'll go ahead and say it. Beezle Boop was one. Lolathon is one. Obviously, Darren Zeus is still kind of kicking. Cyberchimp's still kicking. He's still doing stuff. Lolathon's still doing stuff, too. And again, that's his bread and butter. That's the stuff that he loves to do, so he's very good at it. And for a while, it was just them. You know, it was just them memeing, having a good time. And again, people were kind of drawn to them because they enjoy that content. They enjoy the memes, and they were very smart about their memes. But along with the memes came lots of work. Lots and lots of work. And a few of them burnt out a bit just based on that work. Problem is nobody can be as great as the person that you admire. Because unless you become greater than the person you admire, it's very hard to be on top of that pedestal that they've set so high. And that's kind of what happened. When Lolathon took a lot of time off and Cyberchimp was kind of the only one running around doing memes, and then Beezleboop just kind of stopped, you know. People were trying to become what they were, and it kind of sucked. It was kind of bad. It was kind of ruined. But they were trying, you know, they were trying their best. And I think around that time, that's when the more aggressive avatars came out. I don't want to say slutty. I think that's a really bad term, but just a very sensual 4K, 8K textured models, and the models were getting created smoother and a lot more chains and effects and shaders and stuff. So when that all started to kind of become a thing, the memers were having a hard time keeping up to the people that were choosing the route of bed actor or adult content. You know, the adult there's a term for it. And there was a whole movement of that. There was a whole movement of, well, I can make pornography on the internet with this avatar, and they were pushing the limits on that. And porn always wins. It's a sad fact, but you know, nudity always wins because it is something. It's a mystery that has still yet to be defined for people that are always looking to see who, what, where, and how all of that looks like. So when it comes on the internet between memes and pornography, there's probably more pornography than there are memes, even though it's an ongoing thing, I guess. So that's kind of what happened towards the middle of VRChat, and as far as content creation was kind of concerned. And it was a sad truth also I think a lot of the people making that adult content had it out bad because Twitch was constantly adapting the rules, but they were also fixed. They were making rules, and then people were upset with that. So then they had to amend the rules. They had to and they wouldn't tell people about it. So because of that happening, foreshadowing to where we're at right now. But like, people are so upset about that because they're like, why can't I run around half naked? Because that's what I'm comfortable with. Yet Twitch is the one that's denying me access to that. The answer to that is you can run around half naked, but if you're going to play with boss's rules, if you want to make money with the boss, you got to follow the boss's rules. If you don't like the boss, then you should quit your job and find another job. That's the scary truth of it. And not everybody, people want to fight for the right to party. People want to fight to change the rules. More power to you. If you've got the patience and you've got the determination to do it, then absolutely. But while the rest of us have to continue to grind for our dollar and how we make our creations and stuff, there is a way to adapt. There's a way that you can make content without doing that. And again, foreshadowing to now, we had a VTuber who just premiered their new model, shaking their hips for a hot second and then got banned. It's easy to do that for the content's sake. And I think the content creators know that. I would assume that there are other ways of doing it, though. Again, my own opinion. Content creation now has changed, obviously. There's not as many memers as there are, and VRChat alone is a really difficult place to stream on, especially on Twitch. I know Mixer was a thing back in the day. Kick, whatever. You can still be streaming on YouTube, okay. But we've gotten to the point where streaming on VRChat on Twitch is just it's evolving, but we don't know where the next evolution is happening. And I think all of us agree that watching VRChat content isn't as whimsical as it used to be, just because we've experienced all of the worlds. We've experienced all of the latest innovations. I think this Halloween was actually a really nice time to stream because Spookality really brought some really great content this year. And I think it was nice to kind of, I hope Christmas has just as great of a showcase. And I also got to give props to the team over at Virtual Market. VCAT has been rocking VRChat for a hot minute, and it's all very exciting. And I think that's what people need is excitement. Problem is, I think people get too burnt out being overly excited in this game occasionally, So you got the top streamers of Twitch, and they're shaking their bits, and their titles are like Big Mommy Milkers 18 plus, come see me wiggle. And you're like, but what's the difference between that and watching any other porn on the internet? Like, I don't know. It's virtual. I mean, there's an opportunity for me to see naked people in your local area online in VRChat. No, we're not doing it like that. And then you keep scrolling down, and then in the middle of it all is furries. And again, nothing wrong with furries. I love the fur community. I actually am trying to make it a mission next year to go to a FurCon, Midwest FurCon. I know there's the one in Atlanta that I would really love to go. That one's really chaotic. And I endorse the furries. I love the furries, and the community furries that I'm friends with are great. But there's still a community online. There's still a bunch of people online that just for any particular reason they just can't get down with that type of content. And just like any particular group, you've got some real hardcore dedicated people that really push the limits a little bit, kind of taking a nod to like 2021 of the oh whoa ooh woo era, when everybody was saying ara ara and oh whoa ooh woo. There's only so much you could deal with that, man. Like, like it's cute when it's cute, but like when you do it all the time, you're just like, oh my gosh, dude, like take a chill pill for a moment. So for for the fur community, it's really great because they're getting a lot of attention, and and the people that are a part of it really love the community and the camaraderie. And I think the fur community right now is benefiting because I think within their community, they're enjoying the camaraderie, they're enjoying the silliness, and they're enjoying role playing. And there's just a ton of TikTokers that are furries that I love because they're silly and they make great cinematic stuff. But again, not everybody can get down with it. And then you go a little way down to the bottom of the barrel on Twitch, and then you got a bunch of people that are trying. They're really, really trying, and sometimes they're not, and it's just like that shows. But the people that are trying, hello?
Oh, you disappeared. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, that was a little strange there. I thought it was just my hand. The people that are trying, it's tough, you know? The type of content that they're trying to portray it's a melding pot of everything they've ever known about VR chat, and it's difficult to kind of hone in. Do you want to role play? Do you not want to role play? Do you want to go explore? Do you want to give your opinions? Do you want a podcast? You know, like that's another hefty thing that a lot of people are doing, are podcasting and radio shows and interviews and stuff. And, you know, coming from me, who has 10 years of experience in radio, and I try to sit in on a podcast where they don't have a template, they don't know what they're doing, I'm just sitting there, like, literally screaming at myself, being like, why am I watching this? Like they could do so much more if they put in a lot more attention to their show. And that's a little aggravating. So, I mean, obviously you could you could practice. I mean, practice makes perfect, but if you're perfect at being absolute garbage, then your product is going to be perfect garbage. I don't know. This is stuff that I've learned. I mean, there's always room for improvement, I guess. That's where I'm trying to go. There's always room for improvement. So as far as the lengthy answer to this, obviously, again, yes, I have a from 2018 experience in VR chat and seeing a lot of what's been happening. Is content creation has changed so much when it comes to this simulation. And is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I think there's always room for improvement, and it always takes one person. I mean, obviously, everyone knows that. It does take one person to do one awesome thing, and then people can get on board with that. The same thing with me, you know? Like, I'm very humble at what I do. I consider myself like Zed the producer, Zed the DJ, because Zed he's still kind of young, and he creates bangers, man, albums and albums of bangers, and he just sits there and he cooks. But my God, is he a silly dude? He's so silly, and he loves to have a good time and play video games and goof around. But when he gets up on stage, it's just he gets sales. So I try to treat my career like that, where I try not to take myself too seriously. I let other people take me seriously, which is great. And I let my work speak for itself. But when I'm not doing that, man, I love being silly. And I have a following for that. You know, I got people that genuinely want to come to my shows and experience what it's like at a Rob Roman's Voice show, or you know, so much so that, you know, I get hired for IRL events. Just last month, I was just performing in Huntsville, Alabama at Comic-Con. At the beginning of the year, I was playing MegaCon in Orlando. TwitchCon this year actually extended an invitation for me to perform there. So I performed at TwitchCon San Diego. So that's great. You know, those are some really big key moments in my career. But at the same time, you know, we're gonna have a good time. You already know the music's gonna be great. But I you know, I'm just a regular person doing regular cool things, and people enjoy that, and that's my hope. So as far as the regular content creation goes, come on in, cultivate a group of people that you enjoy hanging out with, and they enjoy you, and go do some silly stuff. It may feed into more than you know. It might feed into people enjoying more silly stuff with you. And you know, the way I see it is, yeah, if you like a specific thing, there's a group of people out there that enjoy the same specific thing, and just network and get to know each other. And And at the end of the day, the numbers never really don't count. The numbers don't count. Not even the money numbers don't really count too much. Because if you're going in there and having a good time, you're gonna wash all of that away. Because you're having a good time.
Okay. So now that you've kind of alluded to the end a bit, your shows, DJing and stuff like that, how much have you done in VRChat DJing, and how does that stack up to what you do in real life, and what are your thoughts on the two different scenes?
That's a complicated question, because I think a lot of people think I'm busier than I am. A lot of people don't reach out to me because, the great RobRomansVoice, the great meme, he's a meme. But then you'll have a bunch of people that don't know that I've been here. There's still a ton of people that don't know I exist. So learning about that this year has been so shocking to me. And it still kills me because it's like, I don't know, you have so many groups that say that they started in 2022, and a lot of DJs that say they started in 2022, and then there's a bunch of DJs that say that they've started because of the drinking night mix that they heard in 2022, and I'm like, sweet. And now that they're kind of acknowledging me in 2024, I'm just like, well, this is just 2 years of backlogged attention that I will gladly take. People will gladly come up to me and start talking to me about it, and I'm like, all right, it's been 2 years in the making. What's up? It's cool. So the way I see it, and this is going to be a complicated answer, only because I'm making it that way.
That's
Sorry, I'm getting
perfectly
some
fine.
Discord message.
It's all good.
It is kind of perfectly fine because, just as I've stated before, you got a lot of people that DJ in here. And while they enjoy the time and the energy and the practice and the notoriety and the exposure, I would only assume that exposure doesn't pay the bills. And I would also only assume that they want to pay the bills. So the trade that they're making, I'm hoping that they want to pay the bills at some point in time. Problem is exposure is so nice when everyone's on board, but just like streaming, not everybody is willing to give you that money, and while you don't want to be greedy, you want to be grateful, there has to be a line drawn at some point in time where your professionalism shines, and your professionalism needs to shine brighter than your hobby. Because you can, if you have the talent and the expertise and the know-how and the constant hunger, to kind of run with the big dogs or present yourself as a big professional thing, you're going to want to do that more. And it's hard to stay comfortable. Well, it's easy to stay comfortable. Everybody can be comfortable. You can be comfortable laying in your own bed until your pillows don't work, and then you have to be forced to buy new pillows. But when you buy new pillows and you spend money on those new pillows, oh my gosh, dude. Cool pillows. So performing in here, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy taking lots of different opportunities. I'm still in the mindset of exposure over getting paid. But I also know my worth, and I think it was very great. I'm grateful because there are people in my life and people in my career that have legit had these conversations with me and said, listen, Rob, you can't keep short selling yourself. I'll give you an example. There was a really large company. They're kind of defunct now, but I'm going to try to not use names. Really big company that was becoming a forefront for mocap technology in virtual space. And they spent a lot of money. They had a lot of people on staff that were perfecting this newer age technology that didn't cost too much. It was still expensive to buy, and it was still expensive to wear, but they were trying to market it to the VRChat community to see if they can meld, because the technology that we use is great. They want something even greater for those people that are transitioning from VTuber and VRChat to VTuber in real life. And they made a world in VRChat. They had a huge party, and they invited like 80 people all across the gambit of content creators. And again, I'm not gonna sit here and rattle off some names, but I'll say think of the content creators that are popular on YouTube and on TikTok, that are in VRChat, as well as some people that are kind of legacy VRChat inspiration, content creators, influencers. So they invited them all to this party, and then they wanted to hire me for the DJ because they knew that I did great things and I'd perform at conventions and all this other stuff. So they asked me. At the time, I didn't think of anything of it. I thought it was just a party. I thought it was just a way for me to just get exposure. I didn't know that they were actually going to pay me or not. So thinking on that line of just a regular Joe Schmo DJ performing for whoever, they were like, the person, my contact who's in VRChat occasionally, they were like, so how much would you be charging? How much would you charge for an event like this? And I'm like, well, if you're just doing a showcase, if you're showcasing the new demo, and I'm only there for DJing for an hour, I was like, what's $100? $100 sounds good. If it's a legit company, and you guys are trying to do a Kickstart or something, obviously you're trying to save money. How about $100? And she leans in and she's like, are you serious? And I'm like, what? Is that too much? $100 too much? And she's like, how much are they paying you at the convention? So I told her, and she was like, then that's your worth. That's how much we're going to pay you. And I'm like, oh, I mean, that's a lot of money. It's, that's kind of cool. And she's right. She was like, if they're paying you that much, that means that's your worth currently. There's time for you to grow. That means that's your worth currently. That comes with action. You gotta show what you're worth, and as well as the response to it. And so when finding gigs in here, it's a little tricky because you can't take every job. You can't take every gig, especially if it's just for exposure. I have learned in radio that charity work is great. Not all exposure is charity work. You can throw a bone every so often, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you also you kind of have to stay a little stern with the price that you put on yourself. You can't short sell yourself. If you continue to short sell yourself, you're never going to be able to reach your full potential of how much money you can make compared to your professionalism overall. I will also say that I have a friend who has been working in their field for 14 years, self-employed, and it's very hard for them to get real commission, friendship commission work, because all of their commission comes from other people paying big bucks. And you know what? They don't have to put their brand on anything. They just get the commission money because they know their worth. They know how much it would cost to get something done. And they don't have to work a day in their life because they know their worth. But that's the problem, is even in DJing IRL, that's an issue, because you can be really good at what you do and charge a really big price, but no matter how great you are or how notoriety you are, clubs will still hire minimalist content for minimalist pay. Minimalist being like, oh, it's the owner's son's girlfriend or something. They'll come in and do a thing for 2 hours. As long as there's music, that's fine. And then we could pay them $100 and then a couple free beers, and that's it. That could work if they're good. I would assume that if you had a good DJ, you could really promote the crap out of that and maybe get some sort of admission price, or you're still gonna get a great product. At the end of the night, people are gonna be drunk, and who cares? It's the music and they're DJing and whatever. So I put those rules in with the VR chat rules, and then my own worth. So when it comes time for me to perform a thing, obviously now is not a very fantastic time for me because I mean I'm taking some opportunities here and there because it is the Halloween season. But if people are going to try to be more professional in the future, they do have to kind of understand their worth and their time and the type of content that they provide. And while I seem like a goofball, and I am a goofball, and I like to have a good time, man, oh man, I've got a resume that shows my professionalism and the stuff that I do, and the numbers, and the people that come to my shows and enjoy the stuff that I do. So that's a hard sell here. It's a real hard sell here because, again, you could be almost anybody in this game. You can technically be a professional. Funny enough, I probably wouldn't have started performing at Comic-Con in Huntsville, Alabama, and Birmingham, Alabama, if I didn't run into a friend who's in VRChat, who's also a part of our stream group. She runs the whole thing, and she realizes how much of a impact I can bring to my performance, and that's how I get hired and get the money. And I think a lot of DJs in here, they kind of they're hoping for that. That's luck. That's just pure luck. There's no other opportunities out like that'll happen until somebody actually shows their credibility. And in here, it is an exposure thing. There are people that come in here, and there's a lot of DJs I've talked to. Well, they'll come in and they'll DJ, and that's all they want to do. They don't want to get paid for it. They just want to have fun and DJ with their friends and whatever. And that's fine. That's fine. But you're getting good at a skill. You're getting good at a trade. At some point in time, you have to make the decision whether or not it's for exposure, if it's for a hobby, or let's just say you are down on your luck and you don't have any money. That's a fantastic way for you to make some money. Same thing with streaming. At the end of the day, we don't want to get paid. But when we start getting paid, we say, oh, wait a minute, I can actually earn money from this. I can actually make money on this. So you try to feed into that. You try to see how much more money you can try to get from doing that job. As far as future things in here, future DJing opportunities, for me, it comes and goes. One of the things that is the hot topic right now is finding time slots. And there are a lot of avenues that will help promote DJ existence in VRChat. But there are a lot of hungry people. There's a lot of hungry people. A lot of people want to be at every club, performing at every hour of every day. And it's tough to fight against that because they hire monthly. So they'll put together a schedule for the month. And unless you know what you're doing like several weeks into that month, you kind of have to put down a time and just hope that you're free to do the thing. But I will say that, again, that whole process is great because there's promotional opportunities. There's opportunities for people to promote what you do and the things you do. And then the other half of it is just you promoting yourself. But that's also a struggle in VRChat too, because not too many people, they would rather hire someone to promote them than them try to promote them. And it's really hard to promote yourself if, you got to figure out what you're promoting and what people may enjoy of you. So that's the struggle right now. And I know at some point in time we're going to talk about VRC DJ Live, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the key things that we talk about on the show is trying to find that line where people have been performing since 2022. Something drew them in here. So whether it was their experience or their hobby or another DJ inspired them to come in to do the thing. They want to do something more with it. And 2025 is going to rock 3 years of DJing in VRChat. This year alone, there had been 13 known IRL VRChat DJ events across the world. And that blows my mind. For people that come in here and just DJ as a hobby, and now everyone's like booking venues IRL and performing IRL, like, what's next? Are people genuinely looking for the money? Because they're on the right path for that. So I think think it's kind of an important time to say, okay, if you want to DJ, how far do you want to take this? What are your plans for the future? Do you want to make money off it? Do you want to be a professional with it? And how can VRChat aid in that success? There's a lot of groups out there that want to do promotions. There's a lot of groups that want to do DJs and stuff. But it's a real hard take to want to perform in here with no pay, because now you're either working full time doing your regular job when you could be full time DJ making full time. You know what I mean? So it's just like there is that incentive of just kind of pushing you on to do the things that you love, but you do have to put in a lot of time and effort and creativity into that to be successful. So the long short of it is just basically that is you got a lot of people in here that they're trying their hardest, they're DJing, they're trying to find the gigs. And another avenue to take is when there are no gigs available, they'll make their own gigs. They'll make their own clubs. They'll make their own stuff going on. Thus club wars, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, we're all supportive of each other. So for me, the way I look at it is like, I think people understand. I think people have been understanding what I have done, and that people also understand my worth. And while that's great and all, they're also kind of timid about approaching me because, maybe they think they can't afford the great RobRomansVoice or something. Which, I mean, to be fair, my price, I know my price, you get a good product out of it. But are you willing to pay that product for that type of exposure or that type of experience? As opposed to me just being like, oh, no, do it for free. Oh, it's your birthday. You're turning 21. Oh, yippee. Like, woo, I mean, again, it depends on the environment, depends on who's going. It depends on a lot of different things. I've played a lot of really underattended shows. And for me, that's just practice if there's not a lot of people there. But it's been a hot minute since I've had no people there. Yeah. So you kind of need to draw attention to the fact that what you have is great for the resume.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you another question as well that's going to before I go into favorite experiences, the show if you're starting that you've mentioned a little bit ago, what started that and what is it?
So, the long story on it was I out of all the cool stuff that I've ever done, I was able to DJ for Music VRchat 0, which was the first ever Music VRchat performance rave thing that we had going on, and one cracked lineup. It was me, Tonky, Sari or Sarixo, It's Lumi, and Miss Stabby. And originally we had a world, and within that world, the video player broke. So we went to a world that Miss Stabby put together called the Syntax Error, and we put together this show. We performed. It was a tiny little venue. We had everybody that we ever needed there. It was a perfect amount of people, and everybody had a job to do, and they did it. It wasn't like intended that way, but it just seemed like everyone that was partying there knew exactly what they needed to do, because it was that night that rocked the DJ world a little bit harder, because I've heard time and time again that it was because of that moment and that party and that evidence that kickstarted virtual market to the size of where it is today. And this is coming from one of the staffers. His name is Lun, and he does a lot of community outreach for virtual market within VRChat, as well as community outreach within the Japan team out in Japan, obviously. But that night was just so intense, because not only did virtual market have a huge scene in Japan during that night, but they also featured me on the front page of Twitch Japan during my performance at Syntax Error. really showcasing how awesome virtual reality is. And it was such a great time. But I keep hearing that from him. You know, I keep hearing that moment was so pinnacle. And it wasn't until Nurtured 3, which actually just happened December, I think, January. It was most recent. That Naku puts on. It has a whole bunch of DJs. It wasn't until after I did my performance there that, again, this was 3 years later. 3 years later. And of course, Lund knows the stuff that I do, but he doesn't know of anything else besides whatever he's working on. So he's there, and he's like, Rob, what the heck, man? Been working in radio for 10 years, and why don't you have a radio show about VRChat? He's like, we could get this going. We could tell VRChat, the devs, that you work at all this radio, and you could be doing interviews on VRChat. And I'm just like, that's a great idea. You know how many people are in VRChat? Like, you know, everybody's going to want to be a part of it. Once they see their friends in it, they're going to start asking me if they could be a part of their show. And I'll be like, well, what else do you do? And, you know, what kind of promotions you got coming up and stuff. And I was like, VRChat, oh, I can't. But the VRChat DJs, I probably could. And how funny and strange would it be to have the meme putting on a radio show about all the DJs and all the things that are happening in real time. So after some careful consideration, and again, within my experience of not only working for iHeartRadio and ESPN, but believe it or not, my career was in sports broadcasting and AM radio and talk show radio. You know, like you would think that I would have that type of skills, which I do. I said, why not? Why not sit down with some of the DJs and see what brought them onto the scene and just talk DJ stuff, you know, regardless of the clubs, because they had to have come from somewhere. And they're getting, okay.
The moment trackers want to go to space.
Woo. I'm glad they're still active. They're still doing stuff. Listen, I just want to look cool while sitting. Okay, that's all I have it for. So I had to think a lot about that. I'm like, they must have been in here for something. You know, the DJs must have been here from some person seeing it on YouTube or experiencing DJing IRL, or maybe they are popular. Maybe they are doing IRL things. Maybe we don't know. Most of the time, we're finding out that most people in VRChat, it's just like any convention. You got some dudes that work in finance, or they work as a grocery store clerk, or they work for audio engineering or regular engineering, and they go to the convention dressed up as so and so. You know, same thing kind of goes here. It's like they want to DJ and they want to have that environment to do it. So I said, all right, bet, we'll try it. And thus I put together a little program called VRC DJLive, which is a live program. It's not pre-recorded or nothing. That's the kind of the struggle right now, is that you kind of have to figure out what time. It happens on Thursdays, but you got to figure out what time based on the community to see who you want to see. And I find it so engaging, because just as I was saying before, there has to be a fine line between hobby DJ and someone who gets paid. And again, the scene is so large. It is so large, my guy. Since 2022, there have been people in groups trying to not only promote it, but like gain an idea of when things are happening. And honestly, I know you interviewed Tupper a couple times ago. Tupper and I have had many conversations about how difficult it is to come in here on a weekend and see their favorite so-and-so, because everybody's performing on Fridays and Saturdays. Just everybody. It's flooded. Flooded meaning between the hours of... There's only like one part of my room that like works. Okay. Between the hours of like 3 o'clock and 6 a.m., you will have like 35 clubs or 40 clubs with like 8 DJs each club. And I know the math is wrong there, but like at any given time between Friday and Saturday, and Saturday alone, you will have up to about 140 to 150 DJs between the hours of 3 p.m. in the afternoon to 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Friday and Saturday, all the time. That is mind-numbing. There's absolutely no way for you to see your favorite so-and-so, especially if there's up-and-comers, if there's people that are, if there's special events happening or a major festival or another popular thing or another popular, because again, the IRL people are looking into VRChat too. So, Tupper and I were like, what the hell, man? Like, we have no chance to go see these people, like, and then it's just as bad for him, because anytime he goes to a place, you'll have like 8 to 10 people flocking him because, he's the VRChat guy. He's the developer. He works for community outreach. So obviously he's a popular guy. But even then he can't see his favorite DJ because everybody wants to hobnob with them. They want to get power or something. They want to, see what he does. So I put together the show, VRCDJLive, to get an opportunity to kind of talk to the people on their plans and the stuff that they want to do in the future, what they got going on now, and kind of see what brought them in here and what they're doing in here, basically. So a lot of the DJs that I've talked to, luckily for us in the past 2 months, is there's been a lot of different DJ news. With some new consoles and trying to get an idea of, you have your weekend warriors that purchase their $400 consoles and they're like, I'm a DJ now. But at the same time, you're like, everybody was there. We can't really throw them under the rug for doing, buying a smaller console, just trying to save some money. DJ is a DJ. But also you got some dudes that spend the $9,000-$10,000 on the expensive stuff. Does that make them a better DJ? Well, yeah, I don't know. We don't know. So that's part of the program is just being live, having people in chat asking questions in real time, and you'll even have some people that are just genuinely interested in what their favorite venues look like, and what is it feel like to be a DJ, a most wanted DJ, someone that people want to hire all the time. And even general people asking, how do I get into it? How do I DJ? And while YouTube videos are great and talking to friends is great, man, oh man, having that time to just ask the questions in real time is something really, really is really nice to have. So the program itself has been running pretty great. Obviously, a lot of people are enjoying the nice interviews and the talking times, and getting those responses. That's kind of a key moment. So for me, it's just something to do, especially because like right now, radio itself isn't really doing very well. Outside of popular belief, I think a lot of people within VRChat or streamers or something, we rely a lot on Spotify for a lot of our musical choices and the things we want to listen to. Listening to the radio is kind of like, meh, same old. The music's not that interesting anymore. And they're right, and why not come up with a program that not only promotes all of our friends and the ideals of the things that they want to do, but provide an avenue of where can I find this entertainment and how can I be a part of it because I'm already interested, as opposed to listening to the radio and being disinterested. And especially for me, when I actually removed myself from the role of radio just because I know it's a slow sinking ship. Why can't you make a career out of this? Why can't I sit here and use my radio expertise to create a program that not only people are interested in, but people are proactive in for the past 2 years in DJing and better understanding. So it's still kind of a slow grind. Obviously, everything's kind of a slow grind. We got a very professional staff, very professional team, and we're creating these really awesome experiences to get to know some of your favorite DJs, to get to know what they enjoy doing. Most of the time, most DJs in VRChat when they're done DJing, they'll like go to the bathroom, they'll go get a snack, they'll get some water, and then they'll go to bed. You know, like they have no time to sit and hobnob because they're tired. You know, like once they're done, they're done. Like, and then for them to come back into VR chat to hang out never works out. You know, they're just into kind of DJ and that's it. And I think a lot of their friends expect that. So this is finally an opportunity to sit and kind of, you know, talk about the things that they enjoy. Really,
I'm sure from my own experience with the DJ community, I'm sure as well your experiences as well. They're all very willing to come talk too, and the amount of stuff that they're doing, at least from what I've hear from them, I also find mind numbing. I never have experienced the DJ scene prior to Metaverse Degen. I was just the guy, the mere dweller and drinking night, hanging out with friends, and then this happened, and I learned crazy stuff you guys are up to. I'm sure that's the same for you as well. Were there anything that you've learned from doing the show or experiencing the DJ scene that surprised you? Don't miss out for Winter Vrchat, December 7th through the 22nd. See you there.
I was so upset. And there's actually a video that someone interviewed me like a year ago, and man, oh man, it's not that I'm eating my words, but at the same time, like it is so difficult for someone that has experience, for someone that does a good job and has evidence of doing a good job. It's hard for me to get in and do a thing. I can't get time slots. I can't because they're all taken up, you know, like you got a lot of people that are hungry and people that are genuinely looking to make the most of whatever they do. It surprises me a lot that while the DJ community we're all cool with each other, there's no gatekeeping, which is fantastic because at the end of the day, we want to help each other. We want to support each other. Plus we all do great things, you know, like we all love music. That should be enough. And it is. I'm equally surprised from the program that that most of the DJs that I've talked to, holy moly, most of the DJs that I've talked to are genuinely okay with the weekend warriors, with the people buying the $400 console, buying the light version of the software and not spending any money, and dare I say ripping content from SoundCloud. I don't want to say it out loud, but I am, because that's what a lot of people do. I don't. I buy my music. I also have DJ pools, and I also make my own music. So, but they want a taste of that. And who am I to be like, no? Like, who am I to say you shouldn't try it? You know, you should try it. I think it's something that you need to experience for yourself. Even last night, one of my moderators was like, "Rob, you're sitting at so many followers, so many viewers. You should DJ for another hour." Yeah, I DJ'd for 4 hours. I'm like, you DJ for another hour. You do that. I'm not doing that. But you know, give them that experience. Let them have that experience. Let them see what it takes. Again, there's a nice comfortability. Where you can just play your music and that's it. And there's so many other avenues that you can take to further your skill. One of the things I think a lot of DJs don't do is not pre-plan. It's scary. It's scary to just go up, push a button to start, and not know what's next. And there's a lot of DJs out there that'll pre-plan their sets for the hour, for 45 minutes or something. And be comfortable with that because they've already worked on it. It makes sense. It sounds awesome. End of story. But I think DJs need to step out of their comfort zone and just be like, push the button, use your musical knowledge and the music that you have and create something with it. And a lot of people are scared to do that. The interview that I did a year ago, I was upset because I wasn't upset because I wasn't getting time slots. I was nervous because everybody wants to be a DJ. Everybody does. Everybody wants to know what it feels to be in front of a big crowd or gain the notoriety or the influence or something like that. And I'm upset because there are there are avenues within the DJ scene that make it very easy for you to just hit a button and mix anything. And I think the other thing I don't like that I said a year ago was I said people need to be a little bit more authentic with it. People need to come to terms that it is not the norm to DJ one song, mix one song into another song with a crossfade. You know, like you'll hear on iTunes. Like if you're gonna hear a song and it just kind of blends into the next one, the other one starts. There's a norm for that. People believe that is DJing, and it is one way of mixing a song to another song, but literally anybody can do that, and there needs to be a little bit more. Another example, I had someone come to a stream on a Wednesday. We do disco nights on Wednesdays, and they were talking to me about how fast I can backspin. And I'm like, I mean, I can only go as fast as the computer will let me, you know, the console will let me. And they were explaining how backspin effect to go from one song to the other is their favorite thing to do. And there's something in the DJ community being like, if you backspin way too much, that's all you know, is to backspin. It's a transition effect. That's what it is, for the people that don't know. While a transition effect of crossfading from one song to the next, where one song fades and then the other one comes up, it's supposed to confuse you, so that way you could just start the next song and you don't have to worry too much about anything. It's an effect. So when one song is done, or as it's finishing, you start the next one, and then you backspin to make it sound like rewind, remix, you know, whatever you do. And then it goes into the next song being like, oh my gosh, he did something in real time. Oh man, spin it back. So people use it way too often. And people think that some of the DJs think that's disingenuous because you could do so much more. Like most consoles give you like 10 to 12 effects, and you choose the backspin every time. Like, come on. You know? So it's just stuff like that. It's like little tiny detailed stuff that I get a little angry about, especially with the new kids. Is you know, the new kids, they wanna DJ, but all they know is what they've known for the norm to be, which is backspins, which is crossfading, and rip songs from SoundCloud. When in reality is you should look at the board, because there's a ton of effects on the board. But they're already a part of the board, you know? You don't have to just spin the thing. You don't have to kill your console. And on top of it too, there are genuine DJ pools online, subscription pools that you can be a part of, where people like producers will produce the elements for you that you could purchase. They're looking for ways to save money from it. And when in reality is you do have to spend a little bit of money to make a little bit of money. You have to spend a little bit of money to get the good stuff. Lest you make the stuff your own. You know, like if you make your own bootlegs, remixes, whatever you do, edits, which takes time. That's I think that's my only big gripe when it comes to the DJ scene. And having VRCDJLive is such an integral part of this process, is to not really make a new norm for it, but I think a lot of new and upcoming DJs, they need to figure out what they're doing. They need to figure out if they're doing this as a hobby or they're doing it professional, which again, you can be a professional with a $400 console. You can do that. And that's the surprising part that I'm learning about this program, is that most of the popular DJs that are coming in to do interviews, it doesn't matter about the software. It doesn't matter about the hardware. It doesn't matter about anything. You know, as long as you're up there and you're killing the crowd and you got a big old audience and they're hype and you're making it hype, it shouldn't matter what you're performing on. As long as you're having a good time with it. And that's the other thing too. If you're a DJ, you need to have a good time too. You can't just be standing up there looking silly and not vibing out. That's killing everything. So I think it's a whole experience of like, so you want to DJ, you shouldn't have to be pressured to buy the expensive stuff to come in to practice with it and have a good time with it. But also know too that not every gig is meant to be easy. You know, you have to push the limit a little bit. You do have to learn. You have to adapt. And especially if you want great success. You know, you can have success in this. You can have success and be successful as a successful DJ in virtual reality. But you got to figure out where that line is, where you want to continue on to be much greater than what you are.
Okay. So I want to ask you another question as well. From all the experiences you had, actually, we'll start with what got you into radio to begin with, and what have been some of your experiences with radio and VR you've experienced so far?
You think I'd know this answer right now. You think I would know it. All right. All these questions have long answers. You should already know this. But as I've said before, you know, I got a lot of things that I have experience on, so it's very fun to hear these things. So in high school, I played the tuba in high school, and I played for bands and marching bands and stuff like that. And if you were to ask me what my career what I would have wanted to do in music back then, I thought it would have been a really fun gig to like be the principal tubist either for a symphony or a production company that does all the symphonic sounds on movies. You know, like if you're the principal tubist for the Batman soundtrack or for Finding Nemo, you know, and then the credits roll and it's just you. It's like Rob Roman on tuba, as you're the only guy. Because in a symphony, they only have a principal tubist. They only have one. And you may have a backup, or you may know a couple of people that do that. That way, if you get sick, then they can bring on your understudy or something. But when you get hired for that symphony, that's it. That's what you're doing. You're performing. So I thought, oh man, that would be cool. So at the time, I reached out to the principal tubist of the Hartford Symphony Orchestra in Connecticut. He advised me to look into music performance in college. And so my first look was Berklee College of Music in Boston. And originally I wanted to go to Boston University, but my mother said it was too expensive, yet Berklee was more expensive than that. And that was the only college that I got accepted to, was Berklee College of Music. So I went there and I studied music education for 3 years. Music performance didn't work out for me because my instructor wanted me to practice a lot. And practicing the tuba when you're by yourself and you don't have a girlfriend at the time, and you know, you'd have to bring the tuba to school and you have to sit in a practice room and play, and that's boring. And when you live off campus in an apartment, obviously you don't want to be known as the guy who plays the tuba because he has to practice for college. Like there's nothing about that is entertaining about it whatsoever. So I switched to music education, and originally my original thought was that I wanted to teach high school band, high school marching band, jazz band. I wanted a funk ensemble. And they also said that I had the patience for middle school, so teaching middle school band would be great. But on top of that, what I thought would have been really cheeky and a really fun thing to do is play the Batman card, where again, when you're Bruce Wayne in the daytime, Batman at night. I wanted to be a voice actor. I wanted to do voices for cartoons, and I did a lot of studying on that. I used to do audition tapes, and I used to look on the internet when the internet was still kind of young, I guess, to try to get a good understanding of what it takes to be a voice actor. Now, obviously, voice acting has changed since then. a great deal. But I thought, how cool would that be? You know, like even if I was dating or not, I would be teaching during the day, and nobody would really need to know that I was the voice of SpongeBob. You know, like unless they actually looked into it and they're like, wait a minute, Mr. Roman is SpongeBob. So it's just like, that's kind of what I wanted it as a career, was just something like I can kind of go back and forth on. Now, the DJing part and the radio part didn't really get pulled into effect. The DJing part got into effect when I was a kid, because my father and my godfather created a mobile DJing company called Music Express, and so they would just DJ weddings, and that was their little hobby moneymaker on the side. And they were actually jockeying discs and jockeying LPs, and they have. So I would be the baby out on the floor, like dressed up in a suit, trying to get women to dance. And so I kind of took that business over a little bit. It wasn't as professional as I wanted it to be, but you know, I did an occasional wedding or a birthday party or something, so that was fun. I don't do that much anymore. If somebody's getting married, then we could sit down and talk. But just so you can get so much more if you spend more money with some more professional people. That's basically what I'm saying. So when at the time when I was studying music education at Berkeley, both my parents were going into surgery at the same time, and the financial aid dried up. So I kind of had to move home. I was working in the Boston area anyway, but at the same time, it was like I could be doing so much more if I didn't have to pay rent. So I moved home, and at the time, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, because I didn't get a degree. I still had 3 years of experience of college, but I didn't have enough money to go back to school. So I was trying to figure out a way to kind of handle all this. Obviously, at the time, I was working as a package handler for UPS. And I'm like, is this my life now? Am I working a warehouse job and I'm just stuffing trucks? Like, I don't want to do this. Sucks. And I was so grateful because in the fraternity back in college, again, this is a great opportunity. This is great stories about networking, because that's where you're going to get to where you need to go. Is networking. Is one of my old my alumni brothers was able to co-sign a loan for me to go to broadcasting school. Because I told him, I said, you know, I think that would be a really neat addition to my career of music and understanding music and entertainment and stuff. So he was able to do that, and went to CSB School of Broadcasting, which was, again, it's a trade school. It's not really a college, but it's a trade school. And the beauty of that trade school was the teachers were actually in the industry. Like, they were actually working in the industry, and then for part-time compensation, they'd come in and teach a course on specific things, which was great, because again, that is solid networking. You know, you're working with people that are actually working in the business. They'll give you examples of things that are happening right now. So ended up getting my certificate, did a bunch of projects on television and radio, and at the time, listen up, this is important, listen up. I got an internship at iHeartRadio back when it was Clear Channel Communications. And wouldn't you know it, the first job that I held as an intern was to vacuum the sales department. They had a big sale. They got in some clients that had big money, and they threw a paper confetti party. And they also set up cardboard forts where they would ball up confetti and throw it at each other like snowballs. So sales department was littered with just shredded paper. So my first job as an intern was to go in with the vacuum and vacuum clean up the sales department, because they had a celebration. And you would think that they would send me out to get a cup of coffee, but at the same time, they had plenty of coffees, and they had Keurigs there, so they could handle their own coffee. But I was like so thankful for that. An extremely long story short, being an intern, I was an intern for about 2 years, a little under 2 years, working with the morning show, understanding how morning shows developed, what you need to do to prepare for a show like that. And then at some point in time, they built a new FM sports talk radio, because usually news and sports are usually on AM frequency. So now that they were trying to do HD FM radio for sports, was kind of the height of that type of market. They needed someone to run the board. So I got hired part-time as a board operator, and was working sports radio, even though my boss at the time, he was like, what baseball team do you like watching? And I'm like, well, I was in Boston, so I guess I'll favor the Red Sox. And he goes, are we going to have any issues if you have to broadcast the Yankees? And I'm like, no. He goes, okay, good. Like, as long as the Yankees go on and they do their thing, it doesn't matter if they win or lose. You got to do the thing. So that was just kind of it. And then throughout my entire radio career, it was just that content creation. It was going online, looking for the hottest stories to talk about. Maybe social media had something going on. And then on top of that, again, to continue flexing a little bit, I worked for Six Flags in New England for 3 years as an entertainer. I was a trash can drummer for 3 years, and I would also perform on what's it called, rollerblades. So I was on rollerblades drumming on trash can stuff. But that was fun too. Again, that's part of the whole content creation, entertainment, understanding music and stuff, culmination of things. And radio had been really good to me for several years, and until the point where automation came in. The computers can run all of the things. A lot of the larger sports programming run off of automation. And soundless tones, vibrations in the frequencies can generate macros to fire another element when no one is there. So because all of that happened, a lot of people lost their jobs, and it's unfortunate. It really is. But you also genuinely only need one person that can remote in from their home to fix a problem. They don't actually have to be there anymore. So it was unfortunate, because in 2017, it was actually in early 2019. That's when I got laid off from my work in Vermont, and I moved back home. Which, again, very, very funny story of how this is all happening because of COVID. COVID happening in 2020. It just seemed ideal at the time, but again, the transition between radio and Twitch and VRChat and all that sort of stuff, it should just automatically come natural, just because, like, it's all entertainment. It's all in the field of entertainment. I would really hate to bring this up because I only watched a little segment of it today. But it's almost the same thing as Nikocado Avocado. All right, he's a really big topic right now because we legit spent many, many years watching him run around as this entitled fat guy who's a child, who eats all the food, all the mukbangs, and abuses his relationship with his husband and all that business. And then just out of left field, comes out, loses all the weight, says he's 2 steps ahead of everybody. And he just posted a video that came out like 6 days ago from today, where he was explaining how he wanted to be on Broadway, but just as any Broadway person, well, you would either act or be a method actor. Within method acting, you play a role by losing the weight or gaining the weight, and a lot of actors do that. It takes some time, but they do it. And he also explained how in Broadway, just like in any other job, is when the Broadway show is done, you literally lose your job until you get hired for something else. And that's kind of the same thing with radio. It's not even a matter if you mess up or not. You lose your job, you lose your job. And when you lose your job, you kind of have to supplement it with something else that you're really good at. So until you can land yourself another radio show gig, might as well jump into podcasting. Might as well jump into other means of internet radio or internet television or something, because you want to keep those juices flowing. You want to keep that entertainment going. And with Nikocado Avocado, he said just that. He goes, I couldn't make it to Broadway, so I decided to do my own experiment and method act while here, regardless if that's true or not. That's a very smart way to handle it. You know, like if you genuinely believe that something is going to work out, you also, as an actor, need to feel how that feels. You know, you have to be in that role. And it could be the best role of your life. It could be the worst, but you've gone through it. You have the experience. It's on your resume. You've done it. Regardless if you want to do it again, I don't know. I mean, that's up to you. But the same thing for me. You know, like I think right now, I mean, I'm not making all the money in the world. I think I'm getting a lot more notoriety than I am getting money. But for me to try to explore radio again, there's a weird disjointment on the content you create that will work for you, that you don't get enough money, compared to the content that you have to create for the radio station that you may not be a part of or want to be a part of, but you still got to produce a good product. The same thing with the Red Sox Yankees thing. You know, it's not that I hate the Yankees. You'd think that the rivalry would be there with the Red Sox not liking the Yankees. Same thing back and forth. But at the same time, it's your job to provide a good product, and you want to make sure that that sounds good. Another great reference, which I didn't realize it at the time until I did, which when I worked at iHeartRadio in Tampa, Florida, because I live in Central Florida now, I was in charge of broadcasting the Tampa Bay Rays, which is the baseball team, the MLB baseball game. What I didn't know is while you're at the stadium, they're listening to that broadcast. So whoever's in the stadium, some 5-6 digits of people, I would say 5 digits, I guess, and you're going to the bathroom, you're listening to me produce the show. Like that, that's it. I'm the guy behind the multi-channel board producing the show, and they'll know if you mess up. Like, when you're producing a live show, it's 3 hours for the game, 3 hours for pre-game, 3 hours for post. It's a 9-hour program. At some point in time, you need to use the bathroom, and when the bathroom's on the other side of the building, you're darting to it. You gotta go. You go. But you also need to know that when they cut to commercial, and you're live, you're the one that has to push the button for that commercial. You know, they'll hear it in the bathrooms at the stadium if you screw up. So, that's kind of a thing too, that like a lot of people in regular radio land need to realize, is that there are some people, while automation exists, they'd rather have a body in there. And then when it comes down to the content that you make here, I don't know, you kind of have to get a hold of yourself. You really do, because I think that there's so much area for mistakes here on Twitch and making your own branding. But if you screw up here, you're gonna have to go back to a job where it's much harder and much more demanding. And I think a lot of people need to realize that on Twitch or YouTube or anywhere really, because this is a reflection of your own being, not a company's being. So.
Okay.
It's a little tougher here, but long story short, yeah.
You know, I do have one question for you as well that kind of been burning my mind a little bit. What's it like for you going from the person running a show for someone else and then doing your own show with VRC DJ Live? Is there any experiences in that that's new to you, or what are your thoughts on going from one end of the spectrum to being the one running the show and the whole gig?
I think it's awesome to gain real life experience in all fields. One of the things that I think a lot of interns take out of context when working in radio is there is so much more opportunity to work in sales and marketing than it is to be on the actual radio. And that's disheartening because when you want to work for the radio, you want to do all the fun things. You want to do promotions and go into the promotions closet with the prizes, and you want to go on site and drink beers with your customers and get them all riled up and party mode all the time. But one of the best living stories that I can think about is in marketing for the radio, for the sports FM HD station. The only sales rep there ended up making himself $20,000 off of a deal that he made with I think it was with Bud Light. What they did was they rented out a movie theater that was across the street that was also a bistro. And what they would do is they would have meetups with the fans. It was all for the fans. It was free to go to. The fans would go and they would buy the food at the bistro. They would talk with the on-air talent. The talent would sit there and do a remote show, hyping people up for football. It was football season. And they would have deals and specials. So the bistro got money. We got notoriety because people were coming out because we were there. And it was an ESPN brand. But people were also going to the movie theater too, because they would broadcast Thursday night football, Saturday night football on the big screen in the movie theater. Plus, they would also have a bartender in that movie theater that you can buy, alcohol. You could be sitting in the comfort of a movie theater with like the THX sound system, watching your favorite football game in real time with people that want to be there to watch whatever you're watching. And it was such a great idea. And the sales rep ended up making like, again, $20,000 on sponsorships and deals just on that alone. And he had that locked down for like 9 months. He had that deal locked down. So they celebrated. The dude went in and he drank like a whole bottle of champagne, spilled it in the theaters like a rock star, and good for him, man, because he had the money to clean that up. And when it comes to a deal like that, that's great for him and job security. And it's also great for the company because the company can now showcase that to the higher ups, HR, and say how well their team is doing. They can get recognition down the road. When starting a program like VRCDJLive, it's interesting because just as if you were an intern, while you want to work on the radio side, the production side, you are forced to take on another role that you may be good at, you may not be good at. And if you're not good at it at the beginning, you're fine because then you can switch over to that other role later. When you're doing stuff on your own and you're branding yourself, you have to be skilled, a little bit skilled in everything until you could figure out what works best for your brand and the things you do. Along with VRCDJLive, another thing that I've been doing every year for the past 3 years is a live DJ show at TwitchCon called Dead Man's Party. And Dead Man's Party is just a passion project that I've had where the VRC community has a place to go on Saturday night of TwitchCon to go party, to drink and be in good company and feel safe rather than going to like a regular bar or I don't know, having a block party or having a Airbnb party where the cops will show up or something. And then we can also feature the DJs from the community and have this really big thing. One of the many hurdles of that program is just that is, there's a lot of money involved, actual money for renting the venue and making sure that those people get tips and maybe even paying the DJs or having some sort of a financial safety net moving into the next year or doing all these other cool gigs. And that's all business. That's book business, that's street business, that's everything business. And just like any any scholastic person, any student needs to realize there's the book smarts and there's the street smarts. You have to have both. You can't be book smarts and walking down the street, you'll get mugged. You also can't have street smarts in the library because you're gonna get kicked out for being a thug. You know, like you gotta balance it and work hand in hand when it comes to business. So, and I think that also plays a big role in getting gigs in VR as well. Is that a lot of the DJs, they may know what is great for their community, but they don't know the professional business side of it to carry on to a more professional role that they could potentially make some money. So when it comes down to VRCDJLive, right now we're operating off of book smarts. The street smarts will come later, but we want to give people an opportunity to showcase what they're good at and what will be good for their resumes. Because at the end of the day, this program is just to promote everybody. You know, it's a passion project that we can promote everybody, and it'll just continue to keep my chops really, really, really good. When I get back into radio, but because we're making it such a professional dealio, you know, we want to also showcase it like this is something that I like to create. This is something that everybody wants to watch, and it's informative. You know, it's something that will work really well with my resume later on down the road. And it's also a great opportunity for the staff to get a better understanding of some of the things you need to do in radio or television. You know, the different roles that you have to play. There's social media. There's the world creation part of it. At some point in time, marketing will come into play. You know, marketing will come in to the point where maybe you can find a sponsor. Maybe you can, get some sort of financial aid somewhere from somebody to promote a different brand. The reason why I bring up Dead Man's Party is we've had a real tight-knit business connection with GamerSupps. GamerSupps and VRChat had been such a big player since probably 2021, give or take 2020, with a lot of content creators. But as their brand continued to grow, they've also been growing with Dead Man's Party as well, as far as their involvement and the things that they do for our community and how our community loves them in return. And it's been more than ideal because there's a lot of give and take to that. You know, you will take whatever they give you, and it's your job as a business guy to promote their existence. Believe it or not, okay? Believe it or not, when you stream on Twitch, you are an employee of Twitch, and as a partner on Twitch, what you're doing is you're promoting Twitch as an existence as they are promoting you as a content creator. So if one person falters, that's not a good business partnership. That's not good business at all. And I think a lot of partners forget about that because when the money comes in and it's time to pay the boss to keep the lights on, they get upset with that. And it's a partnership. You know, you have to work together with each other. And there is give and take. There is bad partnerships. True, there are. But I think someone that wants to get into the business and someone wants to work in radio, you have to learn a little bit of everything. I giggle a little bit about it. It's kind of like working in entertainment is like trying to promote yourself as a clown. Because as a clown, you're entertaining. You do tricks. You work with a younger clientele. But have you ever considered going to a clown convention? You know, like, have you ever considered what it takes on the business side to look professional as a jokester, as a clown? That's a lot of work. You know, it's hard to promote yourself, you know, professionally as a professional clown. You need to have good reviews, and you have to have good examples. And you know, people are afraid of clowns. So now you have to turn it around and say, why are you afraid of me? What can I do to win your trust? But at the same time, you have to have a collection of clown friends that you've networked with to hone your skills. So it's just a silly thing to say, you know, when it's tax time and people ask you, like, what do you do for a living? And you say you're a professional clown. Yeah, I don't know. At some point in time, someone's going to laugh. So when it comes to VRCDJLive, you know, it's just that. Is right now, it's me teaching people that are interested in the field that I could potentially give them the idea of skills. And it's tough too, because especially in VRChat alone, you have a lot of people that say that they're doing business, but they don't know how to do business, and it shows. But at the same time too, we're all trying to work our way to gain more financial freedom, as well as hone skills that we can use further on down the road. It's hard to pick up an internship that doesn't pay in hopes that it's going to be successful. But that's not how you're supposed to be looking at it. You know, when you intern, it is your opportunity to work on something that you can show off later that will add to your success. And while you can be paid, and that's a hot take. I think it's more worthwhile for an intern to not be paid for the work that they do, because that's an incentive that the work that they do will pay off later when they create their own thing. While sure it's free, I feel like interns wouldn't work harder if they got paid for it, and that's a hot take. You know, I think a lot of people will be angry about that. Of course, you should be paid for the work that you do, but as an intern, you're still learning how to do that thing. And until you make a complete profession out of it, it's when you get paid to do something, even at work, if you get paid to work, not most of the time, most of your coworkers aren't going to work as hard as you are. So even in VRChat, it's also a really hard thing to do, to lend your time for experience that you aren't getting paid for. But at the end of the road, if you categorize it well enough and you showcase it well enough, then that experience will shine through. You know, you'll be able to use it on upcoming projects. So when it comes to VRCDJLive, that's kind of what's happening right now. There's no income, there's no revenue, there's no nothing. Will there be opportunities for that somewhere down the road? I really hope so. I think the things that we're doing are fantastic. And of course, some of my professional contacts, I'm not saying that GamerSups is going to be the first people, but my gosh, are they doing a lot for me. So, you know, if I were to pitch that to them, maybe they'll have something much greater than here's some free samples, you know. But further on down the road, you know, again, this is an opportunity for my staff to learn a new trade and to do something fun and something they could put their name on, you know, something that they could be proud of. You know, I would hate to think that if you get paid for something and you work on something and you're not proud of it, what the hell, man? Are you just doing that for money? You know, you want to be proud of everything you do. So when it comes to understanding how radio works and what you get out of it compared to working on your own personal passion projects, obviously, yeah, your passion comes first and you want to chase your dreams, but your dreams are not meant to be easy to chase. You know, you have to work hard on them and you have to gain some sort of financial somethings down the road. I'm not saying that's not ultimately successful, but at the same time, you know, you're talking to the guy who has lived his career on a meme. So I've gained my success off of a meme with very little income. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you the question we've alluded to earlier, more or less, because I think we'll need some time to answer that. So I'm going to ask, what is it you think that VRChat, what is the problem with VRChat? The thing you alluded to in the very beginning. Oh, I'm here to interrupt your current video, ask you a favor. Down in the description, down that way, is a link, metaversedegen.card.co, which you have a whole bunch of other places. If you wish to continue following us, we have Twitter, which I run for us, which you get updates and other stuff and random thoughts from me. We have a Discord where Raptor, I, and the entire crew and all the other people we know will be over there hanging out. We game there fairly regularly or hang out in there, so feel free to go over that way and come chat with us. We'd love to meet you. We have a Spotify now, surprise. Everything from a couple weeks ago forward, we'll have our Spotify content on Fridays. If I remember, we'll be we'll put some of our old content forward, but we're going to keep up with our current content on Spotify. So if you wish to watch it there or listen to it there, it'll be there for you as well. Also, we have a Patreon, which we have a whole other show, which we haven't been keeping up with, but we're doing our best. But we have a whole other show there for you as well. We would like to give a huge thanks to some of our supporters over that way, which is Future Oracle, Aliquum, Niche, and Forbidden Zero, all of which we thank you very much for everything, and hopefully we'll see you around and you continue to enjoy the content. Enjoy the current video. Oh boy.
Oh, the big old question?
Yeah.
I bet you've been sitting there trying to figure it out, right? I'll ask you that. What do you think I'm going to answer?
For the problem with VRChat, I think it's a combination of there's a lot of stuff going on and the inability to like just have one avenue, like DJs and clubs. For the non-DJ or non-club owner, there's just so much stuff going on. Which one do you go to? Who's the person you go see? Where do I go to start? Stuff like that. And then also VRChat has a very, as you alluded to earlier, a very sexual side of things. And it's up there in the front. When you type in VRChat in YouTube or Google, the first thing you see is some YouTuber with the anime waifu's ass in the front. And there's a lot more to VRChat than that, but when people see those things, the thing they think about most of the time, even though it's not there at all, it is still there. That's what I think.
Okay. All right. That's a good answer. Not the answer,
Oh,
but that's
no,
a good answer.
but that'd be my answer.
No. I think if you were to have a ton of people coming in here and wanting to DJ, then so be it, you know? I think having that opportunity for people to come in to test what they believe is going to be successful for them, absolutely, that's fine. Are we worried about it? Yeah, a little bit, you know? When the fire marshal says there's only room for 200 people and then you have 400, there's really not a lot of room to kind of do your own thing. But one of the beautiful things, and when I mean beautiful, I'm talking like a forest fire beautiful, one of the beautiful things about VRChat is that when one thing starts, doesn't mean it's going to be successful, and it may burn. It might burn in a passionate fire. And while it was great at the time, and it was used for a purpose, it is better to watch it burn to be phoenixed later into a beautiful new thing. And the thing about the DJ community is just that, is when a thing gets too big, either people will stick with it and continue working at it like a weird toxic relationship, or they'll branch out and do their own thing. You know, it's kind of like the whole Justin Timberlake NSYNC thing. He's just like, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna create a solo album, I'm gonna do my own thing, and then he gained success. Like, okay, that's luck, but that's how the DJ program has been kind of running lately. That's how DJs have been kind of doing it here in VRChat. There is a calling for a specific thing. There's fame someplace, and that place gets super packed. And when that happens, and those additional people that want in can't get in, they're going to make their own thing. And they're going to make their own thing. So while there are a ton of DJs, there's also a ton of clubs. And those clubs are generated based off of the fact that they can't get in doing somewhere else. Not saying that they're not popular enough to go hang out with the big boys, but who says that in the long run, that next side club can't be the next big boy? And that's kind of what's happening within the DJ scene right now. And it's been miraculous. It really has. One of the biggest shockers of my career so far is finding people that come to my shows that are about the same age as I am and enjoy the older stuff, the top 40 stuff, the stuff that they grew up with, the stuff that they went to college with, the throwback stuff. There's even a very large disco community in VRChat right now, and there's a lot of people that enjoy the disco and funk stuff and the psytrance stuff and all the the colors and rainbows and stuff. Has nothing to do with drugs, has nothing to do with alcohol, but it's just the vibe and the music. And that tickles me so hard because VRChat DJs have always been infamously known for drum and bass and dubstep and hardcore. That stuff still happens. But people are kind of also secretly thinking that while that's great to go to and it's cool to enjoy the hard stuff, we kind of just like to chill and have a good time. So they're generating new clubs that are just for that. It's not a matter of being edgy. It's not a matter of being in the scene. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of just getting together, having a goof off, enjoy some drinks if you choose to, and just vibe. And that tickles me so hard because, again, the VR chat community, the DJ community is still extremely pressed on fame and influence and where to find the popular people that are making the money, making the records, making all that stuff. It still happens. And a lot of my popular friends that make music are having a hard time with that. They can't just come in here and chill because people know them because of the music that they make or the tours that they were on, or they want to be a part of a group of people that are influenced by another really large DJ or something. And that's unfortunate. That really is. But you also want to experience that a little bit for yourself. So that's a shocker. But that's not the fall of VRchat. Even the promiscuous people, that's not the fall of VRchat. Believe it or not, if it was a really big deal for the developers, they would have gotten rid of it by now. I would think so. Even Tupper ended up saying on Twitter the other day he wants to create a new hashtag called Spicy VR or Spicy VRC. Hashtag Spicy VRC. Because it easily translates into Japanese as hashtag Ecchi VRC for like Japanese stuff. And it's not that he's encouraging that behavior. I think what he's trying to do is, I think he's also sick and tired of going on Twitch and seeing all the thumbnails being like suggestive content. It's like, you got to click on it anyway. They could be playing chess. They could be in bikinis playing chess. You don't know. But it's still suggestive content. And even though it's, again, bad news is still news. So regardless if, there's sexy content all over the place. But you also can't disagree that the sexy content is not good. It is good. It's all very good. I think all the sexy content in VRchat is delicious. I think a lot of other people believe that too. However, yeah, there are a lot of people that make the sexy content that don't want certain people there, certain age ranges or whatever. So there's a problem with that. And while that could be a problem in VRchat, I don't think it's the problem in VRchat. I think a lot of people do because they're always complaining that they can't go into an instance without someone sexy being there. Well, guess what? You can block them. You don't have to be there. You can go to another instance. You can hang out with other people that don't like that. That's okay. But I also say social media is a beast when it comes to drama. So, people be doing that. Meme culture is dead. I wish it's fun to meme, but it's not strong enough to hold its own right now. I think it has a role in our community. I don't think it's a priority role, which is upsetting. And that kind of leads me to the reason why I believe VRchat is broken and how we can fix it. I think, and this is me just thinking out loud, as I've done many, many times, the reason why I believe that we are tired of VRchat right now is because it's not broken. I think back in the day, back in nostalgia times, the reason why we want to continue bringing back nostalgia is because we had to deal with things that are broken. Avatars were broken, and when avatars were broken, they were super silly. They were like, your head was over there, your body's over here, and while you want it to be perfect, it was unique because it was silly. No one would expect your head to be over there and your body to be over here, or your fingers would be broken, or it's just something would be broken. It would be really silly. But that's how meme culture was created, was the fact that avatars were broken, or they were made so quickly and easily, and things weren't working well enough. And it was just silly, and you played a character, you played a role, and you had fun with it. The other thing too was while the worlds weren't fully developed, the worlds were broken. And just like any video game that you play, it's super silly when it's broken. because while you're frustrated with it being broken and you want it to be correct, it's also really great content to sit there and just laugh at, you're trying to kill the killer, but the killer's running around in circles or slamming their face up against the wall or something, like that's silly. That's so silly and off the cuff. And I think if you were to really continue to dive down that, I think that's where a lot of the brain rot, why we love brain rot and skibbity stuff, I think we really enjoy it because I know for me, AI videos, they kill me right now. I love them so much because AI has this real quirky way of breaking everything. And even AI created photography. It's so difficult to get hands correct in any picture that AI develops because for some reason they don't understand how fingers work. So you'll know when AI is doing the thing because the hands aren't fully developed or they're not. they're silly looking. So when we switched over to Udon, I know it was something that everybody wanted because VRChat was a little broken, and I think people were upset with the fact that it was broken. But now that we switched over to Udon and C# and all that other stuff that could aid us in better success, along with 4K textures, 8K textures, better looking models. I know when VRChat Plus came out and they were like, put money into the program so we can fulfill everybody's requests. Everyone was super stoked when all those requests got filled. But that's our issue right now, is everything is perfect and everything is great. The models are great. The worlds have been fantastic to go into. But nothing's broken. Nothing is how it used to be, where we had to feed into the struggle, And I think that's where all those like weird ass like vet stories come in, and they're just like, I've been in this game for 50 years and everything was broken and we only had one mirror and everybody's name tags were green. It's just like that was a problem, sure, but at the same time, all of that was fun. You can't tell me. Well, depending on when you got in here, but like when we were in here and we went to the pug to hang out, again, there was only one mirror in the pug. It was in the corner where it normally is. That's where everybody was sitting in front of, they were all scrunched together so we could be in front of this tiny sliver of a mirror. But we enjoyed that. Everybody else was running around being like, look at you mirror dwellers, you guys suck, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go RP, I'm going to go do something and piss off some people. We're just chilling. We're all just trying to look at each other in the mirror. Like, we're all just trying to communicate. We're in a little corner, And you don't need that anymore because VRChat fixed that with our own personal mirror. You can spawn at any time, It's like, people are pissed off at McDonald's that there's no 24-hour breakfast anymore. You know how awesome 24-hour breakfast is at McDonald's? Awesome, But it's gone. And people are pissed. And you know what? That's okay. Because we had everything and we lost it and now we want it back. We're going to fight for it to come back. The other issue with everything not broken in this game that I think is also not aiding in our successes is what I explained a little bit earlier. The kids of 2022 do not want to go back in time to the old nostalgic times of when everything was broken. Because I believe since 2022, everything has been kind of good, Nothing really broke. Nothing. They also, I think in 2022, they also had the first taste of paying people to make avatars. And it's very rare that anybody in their own right mind will try to create their own avatar from scratch, or working off bases and working off clothes that they find on the internet and doing that sort of a thing. And that's where the fun is the fact that you can create something silly that's broken for you to be more encouraged to fix it. And but when it is broken, you could wear that broken avatar and have a couple of yucks here down the road. It's very rare that you'll have a bunch of friends being like, stop being in that stupid broken avatar. It's stupid and it's broken and we hate you, and have a couple of yucks here Especially here, you be silly and you wear something that's broken and be silly, I would also say it with the fur communities. No offense to your fur, but like at the same time, it's very rare to see a broken fur model. They're all perfect. And I want to see a silly broken fur model. I want it to be a silly meme looking, your eyeballs in the back of your head and your legs extend like it's Street Fighter or something, But I've yet to see that, and I think it would be silly. And I think that's kind of what's wrong with VRChat right now, is despite the fact that the sexy models are around, I think that the sexy models and the sexy people know what they're getting themselves into as far as like consequences. But those are also the type of people that will do something and ask for forgiveness later. And there's a whole bunch of people out there that live off that concept. They don't ask for permission first. But at the same time, if that's a career that you are interested in, sometimes you have to do what you got to do. And also the same thing with the DJs. The DJs, Twitch has the DJ program right now. But the problem with the DJ program is that it eats 50% of your revenue. It's a premium to buy into it, but you don't have DMCA. You don't get DMCA strikes, but they take half of your revenue. So some DJs in VRChat will actually not be a part of that program because they want all of their revenue. But if they do that, then they're susceptible to getting DMCA strikes and maybe even getting banned or having their account taken down. You do what you got to do, if that's something that you choose. And I don't know. I mean, again, sometimes you do have to go out in a blaze of glory. Sometimes you have to have the forest burn and then be reincarnated as a phoenix later on. While getting banned and getting in trouble, it could be bad for a brand. It could be great to spark your creativity somewhere down the road. Same thing goes with breaking VRChat. I'm not saying that you need to come in as a hacker and be Mr. Hacker Man, but I'm just saying, like, I think it'd be fantastic if we were sitting here and instead of this world being in a constant loop, that we've been sitting here so long that it starts to deteriorate. I think that'd be kind of a neat thing to see. Or even just bringing back broken avatars. One of the things that I think has been preserving that concept is the there's that, I think it was a Prismatic's avatar world or something like that, where you can go in and just select a public avatar or search for a public avatar. Because most of those avatars in there are still kind of broken. And the actual real fun thing about that world is that they have a avatar roulette where you stand in a box and you hit a button and they will just give you a random public avatar. And that could be any public avatar that has ever been in this simulation since 2014. It could be anything. And I think that's fun. I think that's fun, the fact that you can be in a thing that has been around for such a long time that is still broken. And I think if you work in Blender long enough, you would have known what the problem is and you could fix it. But you're also not going to get rid of the broken one because you want to show your progress. So in my opinion, I think that's what VRChat is missing. It's missing the broken, it's missing the silly, it's missing because everybody wants perfect. I think we've been also looking for the perfect sleep world, the perfect quiet world. And even with the DJs, even the DJ worlds, like everyone's looking to make the best DJ experience. And that's thrilling. It's so cool to be a part of something that like you can mimic in real time, in real life. But how silly would it be, if something was broken and you had something to talk about? Because then you'd have to show your friends that it's broken, You go, oh man, we're gonna go over here. It's broken, but it's fun, Or like what was it? Devouring. The Devouring map has been around here for such a long time, and I think it still runs off of Worlds 2.0.
Yeah.
So the ghost in there is broken. He's hella broken. He's all over the place. He's flying. He's in your face the next second, or maybe he's constantly attacking you. But for a gamer, it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to take that ghost up as a challenge. You know, you're going to go in there and try to beat the game with it broken. Then you can show that you beat it while it's broken. Or you could just say, screw it. I'm going to go, you know, play Fruit Ninja or Fruit, whatever it's called. The fruit game. And then just kind of do your thing. So I think it's something to really think about, really. I think within our community. Because while maybe it needs to be a spark of creativity of broken things or showcasing all of your broken things. But I think we all enjoy VRChat right now because everything in here is perfect. It's perfect, you know? They gave us stickers. Stickers are great. We have customizable emotes. What about the other old emotes that we used to use? No one uses them anymore because those are the only ones we had. I don't know. So that's kind of, I don't know. I just think the broken things are fun, and they used to be silly. And I mean, you're also talking to a guy that back in the day, we got our content from a gray box, the lag-free box. That's where we hung out. But you know what? It wasn't even just the fact that the lag-free box didn't lag you out. It was a big enough space to showcase all of your broken avatars and be silly and throw particles and do silly things. And now nobody goes to those anymore because we've got our perfect worlds and our perfect environment. So bring back the broken. Kind of what I'm thinking.
You know, I never thought of it that way, so I appreciate the insights, enjoying the broken things.
Yeah.
And
And even for the DJs too, like even the DJs are being silly with it. You know, even the DJs, you could be a professional with it. You could be a meme DJ. You could do meme stuff and play meme stuff. And that's great, but you got to own into it. You got to lean into it. You got to be part of it, and you got to showcase that's what you're doing. You know, you can't. It's hard to do both because from what I've heard, the feedback that I've gotten is if you play really good stuff and you do a whole segment of memes, people are going to be disinterested and they're going to leave because they're there for the hard stuff. And now that you're goofing, yeah, be a goof. You know, be a goof once, and then go back to being business. You know, that's okay.
I can understand that. I think something else playing into it too is I think VRChat's kind of hitting a pipeline age. So we've kind of, from what I understand, I've talked to people in the beginning. It's my stuff, I'm not sharing. To now we're in the age of I want to share and bring you along with the fun. Well, that also comes with the people who know what they're doing are sharing their knowledge. So the people who are starting have this thought that they want to be as perfect as a person who's showing them their new hobby. So that kind of starts a whole other age of people learning. So they're no longer learning to show the weak stuff. They want to think, oh, well, Rob Roman showed me how to DJ. I want to be as good as him. So when I show stuff, it's got to be as good as Rob Roman's. So when they go over to a club or whatever, you don't hear the mistake they made that one time or the stream died out halfway through. It's always got to be perfect from the get-go. At least that's what I understand.
Too. That's really tough too. And I know that I'm glad that you brought it back up is because back in the day it was all gatekeeping. To be friends with a content creator is you had to have a thing. Like, what are you good at? What can you bring to the team? And there are a couple of content creators now that to this day that are getting a lot of views, but they are gatekeeping who's in their community because everybody just wants to be in there just because of someone being popular or famous or whatever. And I hate how that operates now. But at the same time, I also dislike the fact that we all are friends in our community. You know, like, I think it's great. And this is something that I learned this year, which is for the DJ community, everybody's friends with each other and everybody supports each other. And it's perfect and it's friendly and it's inviting and there's not a lot of competition. But I learned that is the proper European way of doing it. And a lot of the DJs that are coming in are in that space. They're in the Europe area and then the UK and, Amsterdam and all that stuff. And that's just how they operate over there. And for them to bring that into Western culture, it's weird because that's not how we used to do things. So it's just like being friends with everybody is great, but it's also difficult in this game to be trustworthy with those people. And you don't want to let people down. You don't want to destroy friendships, but you also want to be accommodating when people are asking the general questions. Back in the day, yes, you wanted That's the problem with radio and DJing currently. In the past 20 to 30 years, is that someone new wants to come into the scene, they want to do something, and they're inspired with what you do. But the old timers that are in the scene right now are nervous because what they've got tenure for. They're locked in. They're grandfathered in. So if a young whippersnapper comes in and they're trying to shoot their shot at trying to do something fun and more and exciting and stuff, the company might fire the old guy because they want something new and exciting. And that's where that process kind of came in, is just that a lot of the content creators were worried that some of the newer, more hungry, more thirsty talent that wants to come in to make something cool are going to overstep them, even though those are the people that inspired them, to do the things that they do. But because they've got the energy and they've got the drive and all that stuff, they will try to do much more than Mr. Tenure over here that has been slacking on his creative responsibilities. And so back in the day, that was a huge issue. There was no way for you to gain any fame with anybody famous out there unless you had some sort of a trade or you gave money. For me, it was a matter of paying my way to be friends with people by giving subs, bits. I mean, I like doing that because they're my favorite and they inspire me, and I want to pay, give them some more funding so they can continue making the content. But that was also kind of the secret way of getting in, was giving subs and being a part of their community so much that they would just be like, well, damn, you just gave me like $500. I guess we can be friends now. It's something like that. But with the DJ community, all of that's out the window. We're all inclusive. We want to bring everybody in, and we want people to be excited about it. Hell, I even saw a guy on Saturday night that he's been partying for the past 2 years, but he's been having such a hard time trying to find the clubs, and he's been having a hard time finding his crowd and doing that. I'm not also saying that at some point in time he's going to be interested in doing the DJing or something, sure, but we're gonna help him out with that. But even using that concept, all of those concepts compared to like the IRL DJs that are coming in that are making the big bucks with their record labels, as well as what I was saying about how everything's broken. Everything's nice and everything's working out, and honestly too. I forgot if it was either on TikTok or YouTube. I genuinely heard somebody say that they are getting bored of the club scene. They're bored because it's all there. Everybody's doing something. There's no lack of music. There's no lack of DJs or dancers or experiences. It's there whenever you need it. And people are bored with it because it's the same old, same old. And I think a lot of the new people that are coming in, they're not challenging themselves enough. They're not challenging their boundaries enough to continue to succeed and get, a much larger crowd gathering, as opposed to a content creator, influencer, so-and-so, VTuber, whatever. And while that's okay, because we're in a revolving door. There will be people that'll come and go, and the people that complain about it being a perfect world and it's too boring for them, they'll leave. But there will always be another person coming in. December is a fantastic time for this, because Christmas time, everybody gets their new computers, they get their new headsets, they get their new whatever, and I don't want to say kids, but the kids will also get their quests. They'll be on quest mode, and at some point in time, I'm not saying babies, but like, when I say kids, I mean like new users, new users that are younger than me. So they'll come in, and then we're shifting. All the people that complained are going to complain even more because these new people are coming in having a good time, and they're not, because it's brand new for them. And now these angry old people are going to be angry because these kids are going to want to be friends with them because they have that experience. They're trusted users or something. And it's just a grumpy switch of how this all kind of goes down. The beauty of VRChat is that the audience is in constant rotation. Where some people may be complaining right now that something's not working out for them. If it doesn't, they can leave, and they can go to another thing or play another game or enjoy life, touch grass. They could do that. But the people that are in here, we challenge ourselves to create larger opportunities and better creative experiences every day, to keep ourselves entertained. And the people that are a part of the ride, that's great. I love getting new people in my community because that gives me an opportunity to show them the things that I used to do. And most of the time they're interested. They're interested to see the old worlds and the old avatars, and they think that the old avatars are goofy, and they think that the broken avatars are goofy. To the point where they even try to find even more broken avatars that are goofy. And I'm just like, hell yeah, brother. Come on, let's go. So I feel for the people that have a hard time with that. They're coming in and they're drinking and they're having a good time. But, there has to be a little bit of discomfort in this game to have better success, really.
Well, there's something I've noticed by a lot of the DJs I've talked with, and I'm going to quote somebody I don't remember the name to. I'm sorry, but I've done so many of these, my brain short circuits sometimes. So I apologize ahead of time. Please let me know and I'll credit you later. I apologize. But something that shows up every now and again within like the club and rave scene is they look at each other, especially the European scene. They'll look at each other's clubs and want to one-up each other in that sense. Like Muzz and what he's up to over there. When he entered the scene, even though everyone's friends with each other and everything's all hunky-dory, when people like that show up and like, here's what I can do. I've built an awesome team and doing the experience. Be like, wait, we need to do better. And then they'll incorporate those things as well as a means to one up. So even though they're friends, there's still friendly competition going around through the showcases of what they're doing in events and adding new laser lights or whatever it is they want to add. And that too, at least from what I see, I'm outsider looking in perspective anyway.
Muzz is a really good example of what he's got cooking in VR. And again, all these clubs have their own things going on. And honestly, you can't be looking at who has the most expensive property. You can't look at it as who has the most influence on this, financial influence. The way you have to look at it is, oh, there's a penny on the ground. I don't care what side it's on. I'm picking it up because that's a penny earned. But the thing about Muzz is I actually had an opportunity to chat with him at Liquidity this summer because he closed Liquidity in Amsterdam. And he said he was like, at first it was a passion project to put together Sanctum because he wanted to incorporate the virtual reality. And funny enough, during that time that I met Muzz, I got to meet some other drum and bass artists at that festival and was chatting with them about it. And they were like, Muzz keeps telling us about how virtual reality is starting to really spring open for DJs and stuff. So even the DJs from Liquidity that are on this label, who's been DJing for like 13 years, they keep hearing from Muzz and his successes with Sanctum. So now they're getting even more involved and they want to go into virtual reality to do this sort of stuff. But the one thing that I find that's so unique about Muzz is that when it first started as a passion project for him, while he's still kind of involved, he kind of isn't. Sanctum is self-run by the fans of VRChat. The people that are a part of that program are running it solo dolo based on whatever they have and the resources that they have, including world creation. It's off of Muzz's vision, but Muzz actually has a Patreon that you can sign up for, and all of that Patreon money is going to the staffers that run that. So he doesn't have to pay into anything. The community pays into itself via the Patreon that helps the creators of that make much grander experiences. Having the Muzz brand on is fantastic because right now in his career for the past year and a half or so, he's been really digging in professionally and he's been really eating well when it comes to his career and the music he's making. On record, I could say that Muzz, out of the entire drum and bass scene, the way I see it is every artist that makes a drum and bass tune is getting closer and closer to Euphoria on how to make the perfect drum and bass tune. It all sounds the same. It all has the same structure, but I don't think one particular artist has gotten close enough to make the definitive drum and bass sound that sounds exactly what you think it may sound like. No one as close as Muzz. Muzz has created such a unique sound for himself, and I think he's on the cusp of making the actual template for drum and bass music in the future. He's very, very close. So the fact that his career is starting to really skyrocket, Liquicity's been doing really well for him. Obviously, he's been under the Monster Cat name for a while. That's added success along with his huge following. And by gosh, did that not help him out and Liquicity this year too? Because there was 60 VRChat people at this festival from all over Europe and a couple of the people from the States. 60 of us were at Liquicity this year. I think that community wants to double and do 120 next year. But just the fact that there was 60 of us and we went there to see Muzz. We also have an equal friend within the same kind of time and space, Protostar, who's also a very popular individual in VRChat, and has made his mark in here too. I think his community and his startup and stuff has just been the hero's journey, just as Muzz's has. He's got a huge community of people. He's been promoting a lot of his music. He comes in and he performs in here, and it is fantastic to see that. Getting back to the whole club scene, yeah, there are a lot of groups that are trying to create the next big project and the next big world creation thing. But again, we kind of have to remain a little bit humble based on some of the other groups that we have here. And there are a lot of groups that don't have the financial influence that can do that. Not saying that they couldn't. I'm sure that they could at some point in time. But I think it's the community themselves that want it that way. Another fantastic way of looking at it. And again, man, no hate, no shade. I don't have enough information based off of this claim. But it always seems that whenever I have Saturday night in the mix from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Saturday nights, it rubs up against either Tube or Sanctum. And not Sanctum, Shelter. So it's either Tube or Shelter. And they have their events going parallel to me. And if you don't know about Shelter, Saturday nights on Shelter time, they have a full instance, 80 cap with 80 people in queue. And then they also have 4 other instances capped out at 80. Everybody goes to that thing. Everyone loves Shelter. Everybody wants to be a part of that community. Same thing with Tube. Tube has a lot of promotional stuff, and you see them on TikTok, you see them on YouTube, you see them all over the place. And they're bringing in all these cool talents and whatever. And at some point in time, I want to meet up with Two-Tone Disco because, he seems like a popular guy. And but it's funny because on Saturday nights, we usually have people from my community that come in, but then we have a bunch of people that are upset because they can't get in to Shelter. So they'll come to my thing and they'll hang out and they're like, yeah, I'm in queue. Probably won't make it though because the queue's 2 hours long and the event will be over. And I'm like, man, well that sucks. Come and enjoy what we got. We take over Club Orion and we just kind of just DJ there and have a good time. And I think the funny part is that they enjoy themselves so much at Club Orion that they keep forgetting that Shelter exists. So again, it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's strange, and sometimes it's whatever. But the group of people that are in that club are definitive based on the experience that they want. And luckily for us in the VRChat community is that you could technically be an introvert but wanting to learn the club scene without going to a really full club of people you don't know. And there's a group for that. There's a tiny group that you can still have the experience without all the flashing lights and in the underground looking theme and whatever. And that also doesn't cost a lot of money and doesn't require a big staff to hold. So there is a benefit to all of that. But at the same time, yeah, it gets a little aggressive when it comes to popularity based on the clubs and the artists that come in and they've got big fame and that sort of thing. The only thing I got for myself is the fact people still think I'm a meme and they still meme me, which again, funny enough, apparently there's still Reddit feeds about me. So I think people are just genuinely interested in the things that I do. And man, oh man, are they excited. I'm excited to hear that they come out of it with a positive experience as opposed to, oh, this guy is a meme, he's an asshole, we're just going to carry on, but whatever. So VRChat gives you that experience, man. It's great. It's great that you can do almost anything in here, but it's also kind of difficult. And again, going into what I was saying about a revolving door, is if it doesn't work for you, there are groups that are just made out of nothing. And there are some groups that die because it's either internal conflict or politics or not enough staff, or even the staff wants some sort of revenue, financial influence, and they can't get it. And that ruins things. It kind of does.
Well, I will say, Rob Roman, thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure getting to meet you and hear from you and get to meet the face behind Rob Roman's voice and drinking night. So, so thank you very much for this awesome opportunity.
I promise I exist. I'm not just some dude on the internet and say, oh, they hired a guy to make a playlist or something. And I'm like, well, that's partially true, but I've also been sitting here for way too long. And, all I'll say is I want to get to know everybody. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know the Metaverse Degen and kind of see what else you guys got going on. And, you'll find me all over the place if you can. And if you do, feel lucky that you do, because I'm not in here too often. So.
So, if anyone wishes to find you and reach out to you, where would they go to find you? If you're not in VR.
Well, it's not a lot of people. It's not a lot of people by the name of Rob Roman, so that's kind of cool. Obviously, the obvious is RobRomansVoice.com. I have all of my links up there, and you can find everything from examples to video examples to pictures to bootlegs that I make. I also stream live on Twitch at RobRomansVoice, and I got content on YouTube and SoundCloud and TikTok and Instagram, and it's all at Rob Roman's Voice. You can find it all on the website, but I stream daily on Twitch, so Twitch would probably be the place to go for RobRomansVoice.com. Oh, sorry, at Rob Roman's Voice. And if you are interested in coming to Saturday Night in the Mix, I'm on the timeline. I'm on the vrc.tl, and that's available to anybody that wants to come in. You just gotta join the group, join the Two-Tone Army group, and be cool, man. That's basically it. We're just all hanging out, having a good time.
I haven't asked these questions because these last couple we always ask every guest, which is, well, the name is obvious, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. The name used in VRChat, why do you use it?
Why do I use Rob Roman's Voice?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the short answer is I thought it was when I was picking my professional email name, because back when I had Hotmail, it was on Hotmail. But I thought it would be really funny if it was like if you were gonna get a note from the doctor. It said from the desk, written from the desk of Dr. So and so. So I thought it's like this note was generated using the voice of Rob Roman or something. So I thought that was kind of funny. But of course, I was in radio, and I thought it would be really neat to do radio stuff. So besides that, I thought Rob Roman's voice would have been great. Plus, I wanted to do character voice acting. I'll also say I've done commercial voice acting, so that is a thing. But now it's weird because like everybody looks at Rob Roman's voice and they're just like, "Where's the body?" It's just the voice. Like who's the man? Who's Rob Roman? Why is his voice coming out of this girl? Why I don't know. So that's all silly and funny, but like that's pretty much it. Yeah, Rob Roman's voice. That's kind of what stuck.
Well, thank you for sharing the story. I'm glad we get to learn all about the origins of the name. And the last question is, the avatar you're in, why do you use it? Is there anything about it that mean anything to you?
No, that's a long answer, dude. So why'd you ask that one the last one? You should have asked that to me a little bit earlier. All right, well, let me explain myself a little bit here then. Let me turn into somebody real quick. A little bit here then. There was her.
Hold it, you're loading. All right, I see you now. Oh, that's a very pretty avatar.
Yeah, so when I first got into VR chat, I was kind of rummaging around, and one of the things that I found in one of the worlds, which shout out to Blue Coon, because Blue Coon is not only the one that created a lot of VR chat worlds, VR chat avatar worlds, also very famous for just B Club.
Oh wow.
Made a lot of B Club stuff. And one of the things that Blue Coon absolutely loved to do was to take the Rochan head and the Rochan body from the Kantai collection and slap the head on many avatars. It's stupid avatars, like again, just broken avatars of like a muscular guy and a lolly head, and or have a lolly head on top of a lolly head on top of many lolly heads. So just having that was really silly. Now, when I went into the world many moons ago, I still have the old avatar that I used to be in. That was a pedestal, and it was basically the Rochan head, on top of a Teto body from Vocaloid, and she had the little swirly cone thingies for hair. And then this hair was basically the same type of hair. The hair and the face was the Rochan face and the hair. So it's weird how you have a lolly face on this like long-legged body with a tube top. But not only that, I thought she was cute, but she had a bunch of checkerboard stuff. Checkerboard. Now, Two-Tone Army. I like ska music. And I also really love the fact that the two-tone coloring, the checkerboard coloring, is a black and white. And the reference to that is infinite unity within racial cultures. So when ska was created, it was during a government movement in the UK when refugees from Jamaica would come into the UK, and the government also wanted to separate whites and blacks. But they said, "Screw that! We're gonna make music." So they took Jamaican reggae culture and UK punk culture and formed them into ska, and they just lived together. And the government hated that, so they were quietly rebelling. So I really love the message that ska provides, and I love the checkerboard thing and the whole meaning behind checkerboard. So I thought it was great that she had checkerboard, and I was like, "Whoa, that's really cool." So I was this for a very long time, and I was trying to decide why. Why does this matter? Why is this cool for me? Why do I like this? And getting back into my regular avatar, which should be quicker because it's a medium grade, it's kind of a reflection of my high school self. Back in high school, I was kind of a punk. I'd hang out with some punk friends. And I used to wear the bondage pants and listen to heavy metal. And even before then, I was into hip hop, so I was trying to get into the hip hop crowd. But the way I wear her is she is a punk reflection. She is a punk girl reflection of myself in high school. The other quirky thing about this avatar is the red bra strap. I wanted her to have the red bra strap because first of all, everyone thinks that's degeneracy. They think that, showing lingerie is you're being too sexy. When most women today are just like, it's just a bra. You ain't seeing boobs. You're not seeing, it's just a bra. It's not meant to be anything ridiculous. But for her, for any women, actually, when you're going through that phase is when you're first wearing lingerie and bras and stuff, a red bra is meant to showcase, like, you're a whore or something. So the stigma behind it is supposed to be like, it's so revealing and stuff. So I love the fact that the red bra was showing just to showcase that she's a rebellious girl. She's a tease, doesn't want to put out. But she has enough energy to replicate the punk energy that I was in high school, but she's also very empty-headed. She looks like there's nothing going on. Like her vision is basically saying that she's airheaded and she's in it for the fun. So that's partially kind of the reason why I dress this way is she's a high school reflection of myself, me liking ska music back in high school and being a little bit rebellious and just being in it for the music and the community. So
Well, thank you very Thank you very much for explaining that. I appreciate hearing the story behind your avatar. It's one of the things I actually find interesting with when I ask people that is why do they use the avatar, why the name? Just because it's one of the things that I always want to know when I see somebody and they're Rob Roman's voice and they're an anime girl with checkerboards and stuff. I don't know why. And it's great to know. I enjoy hearing that bit for everybody. So again, thank you very much. And all the links for you guys will be in the Hoobly What's It description down that way, with everything else that you'll want to know from the world lists and all of that. And hopefully Futureline will also be the member to put some other things. And this is the closing portion, I guess, is the best way to put it for it. We always give you a question and then some closing advice thing. But I'll start with, if you're anything like me, there's some names that Rob Roman here mentioned. You wonder who the hell these guys even are. Fun fact, we have some answers for you already. So we have lots of content people have named. We've chatted with Tupper, as Rob Roman mentioned earlier. Loon, by the time Rob Roman's video comes out, his video will be out as well. You can meet him, as well as Two Tone from Shelter. So you get to meet some of the names that Rob Roman mentioned. So if you're curious at all, we get lots of names in there. And lots of our guests are from the same way. Someone come on like Rob Roman here, they'll say, oh, this guy inspired me. And we kind of get curious over here. Who is this guy that inspired him? And we go off, invite them on, and ask our own questions. So you can go all the way back to the beginning to the beginning of your content. If as you go back or forward, depending on your listen style, you'll see names as mentioned. Someone mentions, oh, we went to this one club, Hypothetical, and they inspired me to DJ. Well, later on down the road, Hypothetical comes on. And so you can find all the answers you wish to learn about the community. We're not straight DJ stuff. If you enjoyed Raw Moment stuff, we do the same thing with from DJ communities, roleplay communities, performers, groups, communities all over VRChat. So any questions you have, maybe we have the answer, maybe not. If not, we will eventually. So in the advice portion of this, before we close it, I'll give you, don't be afraid to fail before you succeed. God, the amount of content that we have here at Metaverse DJ that makes me cringe when I watch it is terrifying. But that's kind of the fun most of the time, though. You gotta fail face first in the ground before you can even learn the skill to succeed to begin with. That's half the fun of the journey. And with that said, folks, we appreciate you coming on, and thank you for watching and all of that. And special thank you to those who've joined our Patreon as well. You guys have been amazing, and I know one of you have watched all of our videos, so dear fucking God, Oracle, why? But Aliquum, Future Oracle, Forbidden Zero, and Niche, thank you guys, and have a good rest of your day in the Metaverse. See you out there.